And howdy, folks. Welcome to Adventures in Alberon, our 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons campaign. We've been gone for 2 weeks, and we're very excited to be back.
Yeah.
We were off last week due to lightning striking my apartment and taking out a lot of our electronics. But we have a new router, we have a new computer, we have pretty much everything new. So hopefully some of those weird camera focusing things and the audio things won't really happen. Anyways, as usual, I'm joined by Matt, Miles, Ali, and Tina. I'm Joe, the Dungeon Master. I'm wearing a D&D shirt. I don't know if you can actually see it based on the way the camera lines up, but I am. And I'm also running this game. Because we were off for 2 weeks, we have a couple of announcements to get through, a few more than usual. First of all, if you follow us on Instagram or Twitter or any of that stuff, you already saw it, but Sophie Bischoff put together this glorious Platinum Gunter painting that has Doug the Wombat and War Charge Golem. It's super cool. It has a lot of really, really great detail. Platinum Gunter is definitely...
it's so handsome.
He's very different looking. It's amazing with hair and...
It's like, I'm glad that people draw him other than me, because he's not as pretty as that. Everyone, thank you for making him much nicer looking than he has any right to be.
So thank you very much, Sophie. Super, super cool. Already thinking about some of the next stuff. We have a few cool art projects that are coming up, which are pretty exciting. Also, there is new merchandise in the store. Or not new, there's a couple things returning and a couple new styles, but the logo shirt, there's a few new styles and colors for that. And then the finger game shirt is finally back. I was able to solve some of the problems that we had with it. It has a lot of new colors and a lot of new different styles and things that you can put it on. I wanted to have something today. It didn't get here in time, but next week I'll have some of the new stuff, and it looks pretty cool. So definitely check that out. And it supports the stream, which is super great. And so this show does go on YouTube. We have all of the old sessions there, which I'll actually get to in a second, but it's going to be re-airing live tomorrow, or I guess not live. It's going to be airing in real time tomorrow. I'll be there. I'll be watching it, so join in if you miss a part of it today. That's going to start at 8:30 p.m. It'll always be the day after it airs. Live, large scale website upgrades or updates. So we wanted to use alberonrpg.com, which you can go to and look at right now. It's as a little bit more of a we're just going to be at some point character bios, which probably I would have you guys write because they're your characters. There's also, slowly I'm putting together a listing of all of the one-shots that we've done, because they're all run in canon to the campaign. That's going to have the players and then the characters that they had. If we have art for them and as we get art for them, that will go up as well. So for instance, so far I think I have the stuff listed for Gunter's Mudtown Gambit and for...
Nice.
I can't remember what the second one was that we did. But
Is it Kobe Quest?
It's not Kobe Quest. Kobe Quest I'm doing a little special thing for, because Kobe Quest is pretty popular, and we're going to do a Kobe Quest 2 at some point. So
first spin-off right
is
there.
Is that Kobe Quest? Well, no, actually. I'm going to get to that in a second.
That's a good segue for you.
Yeah, except I'm not ready for it yet. God. Also, over on alberonrpg.com, there is now an entire section dedicated to the lore of this really, really rich world. Because I really tried to do the sort of wiki style thing. I am not that good at programming, as it turns out, and I just couldn't do it. So what I ended up doing was putting together a little bit of it's the Alberon Codex. Slowly, the persons, places, and things of Alberon will be listed there. There'll be pictures when they're available. I know, for instance, Tina, Hylan is up there with a picture of her miniature, and a little bit of information about her and what you guys know so far. It is being updated from the perspective of the Finger Gang. So it's stuff that they know. There's a few things that are different, like the Gibbon Society, very secretive organization. The only member listed right now is the only known member, who is Bruce Stain. However, nobody else knows that. That is something that is very hidden to Alberon. But those things are noted as they come up. But really cool, and there's a lot of stuff up there, and fun to find out. And it will hopefully be updated as I go through. One thing that I am also doing is going through all of our old sessions. I've done the first 2 already, I'm halfway through the third, but we're doing recaps. There's going to be session recaps that are going to be up on the website as well. So the first 2 sessions are already up. And then I'm filling in the lore as I go. So it's a pretty ambitious project. I'm doing about 2 sessions a week. It ends up being like an additional like 8 hours of watch time, but it's cool. It's good to go back and see some fun things. And then I think that's it for announcements. Nope. It's been 2 weeks. I forgot. As Matt kind of alluded to, there is going to be a second campaign that's going to start sometime in the fall. It's going to be every other Sundays to start, and we're actually looking for people who want to play. It's going to be called Duskwalkers. It's going to be set in Alberon, although in a way in which any kind of crossover is fairly unlikely, although it is happening in the Third Age and at roughly the same time as Adventures in Alberon. But it is a pretty unique campaign, and I'm pretty proud of it. But if you do have any interest in potentially joining that campaign, and you have access to the internet, which I guess you must have if you're watching this, you can send any kind of information about your character to work@alberonrpg.com. And then if you did have any questions for any of us or anybody who ever appears as a player, you could send that to cast@alberonrpg.com. Finally, we use Sirenscape for music and sound effects. And that's all of the announcements for this week. So thank you very much for bearing with me for that. It takes you got to play catch up when you miss a week. So I apologize for that. Really great to see you, Talon. Thank you for the bits. Das, good to see you as well. Always awesome to see you guys, and for the subscriptions. Thank you, really. It helps a ton for things like replacing computers and stuff like that. It's actually super helpful and really, really grateful for that help. So thank you for that. So we can get into our recap. The last time that we played, Gunter, you used this newly found ore-charged golem, something that you didn't fully understand, to punch a hole up into the second floor of the intricately decorated Gibbon Society Guild Hall. There you confronted Falron Hillsbane, an old hill dwarf with one hand, who claimed to be a transmuter of some kind. Gunter, you immediately attempted to rob him and slapped him twice, causing Falron to cast Polymorph.
He attacked me.
In literally no way. But he cast Polymorph on you, converting you into a pig. You were saved from running out into the ruins of the Ring of Silver by Shay, who hesitantly did so. Morwen, you and Helia went shopping through the gallery of expensive-looking art in the first floor of the Gibbon Society Guild Hall, once they had been unlocked. And then, Gunter, you experimented with a couple different kinds of ore with this golem. You attempted to test different properties and then decided maybe putting 2 at one ends would be a good idea. You managed to deal 42 damage to both yourself and the golem, which then fell. It was pretty big. You went with Falron to the Bronze Serpent, a long walkway along the edge of Koltaram that led to Safe Quarter, a sort of residential district with long, tall, vertically long, brownstone-like buildings. You climbed through a ruined tavern and into the smoky residential neighborhood, and eventually made your way to the Eternal Rest, a funeral parlor that Falron told you was the headquarters for the Resistance Movement. You found the Resistance Movement, which turned out to be about 7 dwarves, who, after a brief and customary finger gang standoff, revealed that they were all that was left of the formerly much larger Resistance, alongside about 150 other dwarves who were not in any condition to fight. Even those in the active Resistance actually were not fighters, except for Emma, the dwarf in full Stone Guard garb that you guys had seen talking to Fallen off to the side. The leader of the group, Mador, and the former banker, told you that they had a loose plan to spring their leader and other key personnel from the Halls of Atonement. When we last played, you all decided to go and investigate this tunnel, dug above the halls, to observe from above. And that is where we're going to begin today. So you guys were all kind of walking towards this huge fireplace in the far wall covered in ash and soot. But before we kind of get into you guys leaving, is there anything you guys wanted to do?
I think I was pretty much ready to go see this place with my own eyes.
Yeah, you were leading the charge. Alrighty. So, as you walk over, you can kind of see Malor. He's the sort of leader, it seems, of this group. He's the one that talks the most. He looks a little nervous. He has that kind of like hammer and sword on his hip. They don't look especially well used, you'd imagine. I mean, he already said he was a banker prior to all of this. He's not exactly a key combatant. But he says, oh, yeah, now I think myself and Ania are going to take you. Does anybody need to use a bathroom or anything like that before we get going now?
No, I think I
Nothing
used it
pressing
recently.
my own.
Yeah, I'm just whenever.
Okay, you guys are you're welcome to do as you please, I guess. And he's kind of looking at you, Morwen, as he says that. But he goes to the back of this fireplace, steps through, and as he does, you notice the soot does not displace. This is not real soot. This has been kind of, it looks almost like maybe paint that's been flung on. But he goes to the back, and you see his fingers sink into the crease between two bricks, and suddenly they pull away. And instead of the sound of stone shifting, as you might imagine, there is the kind of like these hinges. And it looks, as it turns, you can see it's actually wood that's been painted to sort of match the brick behind. Although as it moves, you can see in the little bit of light from the torches that are present, it's not a well-painted wall. It being kind of in the shadows and covered with this blackness, it definitely helps. But it leads out and into sort of a back alley. And he steps through. In what order are you guys going to go? Typical finger gang order?
Sure.
The
I'll
finger
just
gang
go fine.
standard.
The finger gang standard. So, that is going to be Morwen, Heinrich. I would say probably you're going to have Mador right there. Okay, cool. Morwen, Heinrich, you have Helia, Mador, Niev sort of in the middle with Gunter behind that, and then Shay taking the rear, I would assume. Alrighty. You progress out into the smoky street. You hear little bits of ash falling, almost like snow. It's fairly quiet, but you exit this door and peel off to the right, and you begin to move through a series of back alleys. There are kind of low walls. For dwarves, I would say actually for almost all of you, since you're all fairly short except for you, Heinrich, the walls come up to just about your eye level. They're not quite full walls. Heinrich, you can kind of see above most of them and to the actual structures themselves. But you stay in these little back alleys. You see elements of wreckage and here and there signs of violence. You can see no corpses, but there are, outside of some of these ruined buildings, bags that have been torn open and scattered. Their contents long gone at this point. But this is a place that has been fairly thoroughly ransacked. There's here and there kind of smoldering bits of rubble. You can see like a push cart that you pass off to your right in the smoky street. I would say as you guys are progressing, Morwen, you are in the lead, so go ahead and make a perception check.
Uh, 8.
Okay. Wow. That's, I think, the lowest I've seen Morwen roll on a skill check in a long time.
It's-
Wait, 11 is when you get that ability where it's like the lowest you can roll is a 10, right? Oh, unfortunate. Okay. Yeah, and you must be like probably like, I don't know, 500 XP away at this point.
Close.
I want 10.
Yeah. Anyhow, you guys, looking through Morwen, it is smoky. There is this kind of weird wind that seems to be generated by the various fires that are burning in the Ring of Silver. It pushes the smoke and makes it really hard to see. You can almost swear for a moment that you see movement, but it's just more ash and soot being pushed along by this, and it makes it difficult for you to feel confident that you're not being followed if there isn't anything lurking on the periphery. You guys continue to walk. You would imagine probably at this point you're getting close to where up above there would be the bronze serpent. Maybe like 300 feet above, but through the smoke impossible to see. You continue across the street. You follow Malor as he leads down a series of stone steps. Really, really shallow. For you, Heinrich, it's actually easier to take them two at a time. But you get down to sort of like a subset walkway. Normally, this is the kind of place where you would see, small stores beneath maybe a residence or something like that. And as you look and inside you pass, you've walked for maybe 20 minutes at this point. You're beginning to see more and more that there is burning fire. To your right, as you pass a building, you can see licks of flame still coming out of one of the windows. Gunter, go ahead and make a perception check.
Dagron. That is a 14.
Okay. Looking up, there are elements of this fire. The burn marks around the window don't all look as if maybe this fire has come from without. You can see very sharp, almost rigid sort of patterns that seem to snake out like roots almost. And you recognize this fire probably started with lightning. But you continue to move and you continue to walk, and for a time, it is fairly quiet. Are you guys progressing at sort of like a normal pace, or are you trying to stay sort of stealthy?
Well, what's
Wait,
Helgen do?
I think I'm constant stealth now under this in the town. Well, the ruins of.
Yeah, I would assume that you'd just be following the lead of this guy who's obviously traveled this path before.
Yeah, I mean, watching him, you can see he never falters. There's never a point where he kind of stops and looks around. Given his nervous demeanor, it's actually almost impressive. I mean, he's really leading you guys with a sense of both urgency. He seems nervous about things that are around, but he never falters in the way that he moves. He's very comfortable in the city.
I'll take him on that then.
But if you guys are going to go ahead and be stealthy, why don't you make stealth checks, please? Just a nice stealthy.
14, not bad.
Also, Tom, congratulations on being Big Peter. The very first
Nice.
Big Peter.
Nice.
I wish we had confetti to throw on the screen.
I know, right?
I got a 9.
A 9, okay, half. Morwen,
26.
26, and then Heinrich,
14, actually.
14. Wow, okay.
What's his
That's a
advantage?
group, not terrible.
Crap.
As you guys creep, there are times where you are consistently losing track of Morwen and Helia, but all of you are aware of Morwen's kind of habits. She does seem to kind of disappear and then reappear behind people, so you assume that she's with you. Here and there you do see in the soft kind of ash that almost seems to be coating the ground now, little cat prints. But you progress without issue. You guys walking very quietly, given the sort of almost ash snow that's on the ground. It dampens your footfalls, and you move almost like ghosts through this very, very hard to see street. You stick close to the walls and you slip along the road. After about 45 minutes, suddenly you're passing sort of like a long dwarven brownstone, 2 stories tall, and into an alley that seems to branch out into another complicated network. And then past a little bit of an elevated shelf, which you could actually see Gunter, and then Heinrich, if you looked and saw, you would see the bricks kind of shift and rearrange. But in Dwarven runes, it says upper safe quarter, so you would imagine kind of a continuation up there. But Mailer stops you. And I would say, given your passive perceptions, Gunter and Shay, you actually hear something, metal on stone. It's kind of... And Mailer kind of ducks down and suddenly presses himself tight to the building. And he sort of moves his arms to try to shove you guys in as well. What are you doing?
Sneaking, hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna follow his lead.
I'm gonna
Okay.
I
back
bet
up.
it's
and
Minotaurs again.
I'm gonna do this thing where I'm gonna crouch against the wall and use minor illusion to create a crate around me and make it look kind of damaged.
Solid snake. Okay, go ahead and make a performance check.
That's not great. This is in part of his stealth attempt, I'm hoping.
Sure.
I'm just-
Yeah, it's part of a self
Nine,
defense.
nine for the convincingness of this box. It's the first time I've done it, so,
Yeah.
It's like a crayon drawing of a box around
The box looks very realistic, and you watch as Heinrich shifts down and he moves his hands. These glyphs open up in the air, and they seem to expand and almost form this very realistic crate. And you see Heinrich just kind of duck down, and the antlers are all just kind of poking out of the top.
No. It's a 5-foot
it
cube.
like a-
I can get smaller.
Yeah, it is a 5-foot cube.
Okay.
It's the more the performance that you're not quite situating yourself in a good way.
That's fair.
You also know that this is an illusion, so you can still see through it. And you
Right.
not a great vision of the thing. That being said, you're still fairly well hidden.
I'm crouching down and I'm wearing my black, so I'm just gonna like cover myself with my cloak. And,
Okay, you take a little bit of soot and rub it on the silver strings of the unicorn that is on the armor on your chest.
rubbing myself in soot.
Oh, good. Okay, great. So you're going full Navy SEAL.
Yeah, just drop into the ground, covering myself in.
Fantastic. Okay, so you can see Mailer the first person to tuck into the side of this wall. He says, "Oh shit! They found the site. We can't let them alert anyone if they haven't already. So, all right, let's do this." And you can see he pulls out a sword and pulls out a hammer.
Whoa! He's that tiger.
Are you stopping him?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop it.
Okay. He kind of like jerks to a stop. Oh,
Say, let's do it sneaky like, right? We don't want to attract attention, so just Morwen, go do it.
What is?
Why don't you go do it? That's your idea.
I'm not the sneaky
no,
one.
actually, I think he's right. You are pretty sneaky, so maybe it would be a good idea.
Wait,
At
you want
least-
me just off a whole Minotaur by myself? I mean, I
No,
can
we don't know
do
what-
it. What?
Is it a minotaur? Do we
It's
see it
probably
yet?
a minotaur. Oh, you're asking me. Make a perception check if you want to try to peek around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to peek as well. Now
Yeah,
that
that'd
we're
be as well.
That's a 24.
24. Okay.
16.
Okay. Also great. Looking out across this sort of, so it is kind of Gunter at the bottom, peeks out this platinum locks dripping down, and then Morwen's
Covered in soot.
cat covered in soot. Morwen, these big cat eyes peer around the corner, and looking around from your vantage point, you can see down to the right. There is sort of like there's two houses. It looks like they seem to have kind of a courtyard between them, and though you can't make out anything within the courtyard, you can definitely hear sounds coming from there. You are probably about 35 feet away from the corner that you would need to peer around, and there seems to be a doorway leading into the house between that, maybe about 15 feet away from you. You can actually see the doors open. It seems to be, from what you can see, I mean, there are like drag marks on the wood. This also seems to be pretty badly ransacked. And looking even further down that, past the courtyard, there's another building. This one, too, has some signs of damage, a little bit of fire still smoldering at the base on one of the walls, though it seems not to have fully caught. You also see forwards and then to the left, there is a stairway that goes up to what seems to be upper safe quarter.
But no sign of the potential enemy.
You don't see anyone. However, you do, again, kind of hear
Heard in the
this.
right building. The courtyard.
What? Make a perception. No, what was your perception check? Sorry.
24.
24. You heard it coming from the courtyard, not the building itself. And I would say with a 24, wait 1 sec here. With a 24, you hear first that kind of, and then you kind of hear, yeah, it's a circle. And then you hear 3 other voices, although it's hard to tell. These ones, you're estimating with a 24. They're probably like 90 feet away and then around some rubble, so difficult to make out. But you hear again the sound of something else being lifted and dropped. It sounds like stonework, perhaps. And you can hear Mador kind of say, "They're uncovering the tunnel."
Yeah, they're in the courtyard over there.
Yeah, well, they can't. We don't have time to dig another one of these. It's pretty deep.
All right, we're gonna handle it. Let's go, Morwen. Let's go.
Okay.
Come on, Shay. You probably take the rear. You know, punch them if they get away.
With.
What?
For some visual perspective, in the chat in Discord, I went ahead and posted a link to that particular map. If somebody would post it in Twitch chat, that would be super great. You guys are currently in the top right corner. So you're peering around that room. You can't see inside of this house. However, the room with that sort of glass table, you guys are in that corner right there. You're looking down. The courtyard is that sort of area that has that gaping hole that is being uncovered. But you are currently kind of right on that corner. What do you guys want to do?
Is there a way I can get a higher vantage point from where I can see?
Heinrich, go ahead and make a perception check. You haven't done that yet. You're looking for a higher vantage point?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 21 total.
Okay. So as
Why do I waste?
as Gunter and Morwen kind of peek around, you begin to look for a higher vantage point. You kind of look over to the around the other way, and you can see that there are closed double doors. You sort of walk back and then peer through the door that you can see that's open. You have dark vision actually, so it's hard to see, but you can almost make out the edges of like a banister that seem to indicate a stairway through the house.
Is that the bottom left of that house?
Yes, that is the bottom left of that house.
I'm just gonna start sneakily making my way in there just to waste no time.
Okay. And you rolled a 14 for that stealth check, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you kind of look through the doorway, and it's narrow for you. This is definitely designed for a dwarf. But you kind of edge your way in and step in. There are stone floors in this house, and you can see the outside is actually made of these. They look very, very simple at first, these sort of bricks, but you can see they've all been kind of sanded down, and so they all have almost this perfectly uniform, faceted front that is fairly subtle. But you get the sense that it's pretty wealthy. You look to your right as you walk in. There is slightly cracked this beautiful glass and copper. It looks like maybe a coffee table. You can see there is actually a stone couch with a little bit of a crack in it and some cushions that have been kind of thrown on the ground. You continue to walk forwards, and as you approach the stairway, you can actually make out through what looks like a crumbled bit of wall that's been sort of burst from the inside. You can see a dwarf. He's looking into the area that you can see with these 4 barrels. Seems to be just kind of poking around in there. You hear, as you kind of duck down, a voice just kind of say, I'm pretty sure that he's just skipping out on the work. And the dwarf turns around. I am not! And he kind of stomps over. You hear rubble kind of crunching under his boots. He is wearing what looks like half plate, perhaps. He returns to the group, and you can kind of hear more muttering beyond, although this is a little bit quieter. What is your passive perception?
Passive is 11.
11, okay. That is what you see.
And that's all coming from that room with the 4 barrels?
No. So there's a dwarf looking in there, and then he walked away into the right towards where that pit is, although you do not currently see that pit.
The courtyard area?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, still making my way upstairs as everyone is doing their stuff.
Okay. You go up to the stairs, and you take them kind of one.
I want a message. Shit, I can't see anyone, but I know the general location of everyone, right?
Yeah, and if you know the general location, you can send a message. You just kind of cast it in a direction.
Yeah, I'm gonna send a message to Morwen and be like, "There's also some doors with these guys. I just saw doors," and you just be like, and I keep going upstairs.
I pass it on.
Okay, you relay the information. You climb the stairs one at a time, and you manage to avoid making too much noise. There is here and there kind of a creak. But as you get to the top, you can see it looks as if this has 4 bedrooms that go off 2 to the left, 2 to the right, and it seems to branch around to the right a little bit. You can see the furthest door is actually ripped almost out. One of the hinges, you can see like torn, the metal itself sheared from force. You can see all the way in the back. There is like little bits of smoke drifting through, and you can recognize there is cracks in the actual stone itself. There's been a fair amount of violence up here. But you would imagine kind of walking forwards and then up and to the left, up and to the right, you would reach a room overlooking the courtyard.
Perfect. Keeping my wits about me for any other movement and noises and stuff. I'm going to try to approach that room.
Okay. Sure. So you go ahead and you approach that room. While Heinrich is kind of creeping through the house, Shay, what are you doing?
How tall is that building?
Which one?
The one that he went into.
So it's 2 stories. You would imagine probably about 45 feet tall, although you can see there are decorative elements on the top that do create a vantage point that gets up to about 55 feet. It's almost like a roof access kind of square looking structure.
Cool. I want to go up there.
Okay. So as this is happening, you guys watch kind of Heinrich disappear. More when you suddenly hear Heinrich's voice in the back of your head, you kind of start. And as you turn, you see Shay kind of put one hand on Brick and pulling herself with one arm, make almost like a 15-foot movement before grabbing and then continuing leaping up, planting a foot in what looks like maybe almost like a decorative ledge, and then leaping up and over onto the roof. Shay, you land very quietly. There is sort of this swirl of ash that goes around you as you do land. But it is pretty quiet. You see undisturbed ash on the roof. Nobody's been here. Your passive perception is a 19, correct?
It's 18.
18. Hunter's is 19. I get them switched. So you do notice, as you were kind of up on the roof, before even moving around, before even really searching for anything, there is movement in that house beyond. You catch just a flicker of it in the first floor, and then it's gone. But whatever's out in the courtyard, and you can't really see much of the courtyard yet until you walk over to the edge, there's more than just that.
I'm going to let that ash settle and kind of slowly start making my way to the edge in a manner that does not draw a lot of attention.
So you let the ash settle and kind of coats the top of your shoulders, skin, and hair, and it mixes in with the now much more visible than the beginning of the quest, these sort of feathers that seem to almost project here and there. But you walk up into the edge, and looking over, you see about 5 humanoids of various types. And if you give me just 1 second, I'll send you a picture of these humanoids. I can send you literally exactly what you see. I took a little bit of creative liberty with photos this time around.
Nice.
You can see what looks like 2 dwarves wearing half plate. One's carrying a large hammer, almost like a war hammer. The other seems to have something a little bit smaller, but it's sheathed. The one carrying the war hammer was the one that you saw looking into that barrel area. There is 3 humans, or 2 humans and somebody kind of swathed in different clothing. Kind of hard to make out their features, but they look human. You can see they're laboring at moving these bricks off of the courtyard. The courtyard's covered in these decorative bricks, which make a beautiful kind of dwarven geometric pattern. You actually see there is a lot of art in this area. There's a huge... Art is a subjective term. There's a huge dwarven head, just this disembodied head that's kind of placed in a outcropping in the courtyard that's overlooking this hole. But you can see as they move what look like these decorative bricks, there are some that are actually almost fake. And you think back to the Eternal Rest and that doorway that you'd seen. Very similar. It's wood painted to look like stone. And as they move these kind of fake bits aside, you can see beneath there is a deep, cavernous tunnel that seems to be maybe cylindrical, although with not that much removed, kind of hard to tell. But it drops down and into darkness. It's fairly deep. And they're sort of just kind of moving stones away.
Okay.
While you are kind of conveying, or not conveying, while you are surveying all of that, Gunter, what are you doing?
So I think seeing everyone sort of getting into fighting positions, as it were, I'm gonna get into hiding position.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to. Okay, I'm trying to gauge the change in direction on here, so I can position myself. I think I want to be like up against the wall that is like just around the corner of the hole, but such that like from where we're so
you want to go into the house and towards that sort of hole that's been knocked out of the wall?
Yeah, but I don't want to. Like, I want to hide in a way that they won't notice my hiding there.
Go ahead.
So that I can. I want to keep eyes on the situation from
gotcha.
a safe distance.
Yeah, you're like just breathing heavily and kind of looking out of the corner. Go ahead and make a stealth check.
Travis on for size. With that, 7.
Okay. So we're going to get back to that in a second. But you kind of begin clanking your way through. Morwen, what are you doing?
I'm going to sneak up on these dudes and get ready to pounce.
Okay. Where do you want to position yourself? Where are you trying to sneak to?
Oh, you're bringing it up. Okay. No, the big one. Yeah. I think just from where we entered, straight down and around that corner of the building.
Okay.
Towards the, in the middle.
I got you.
Get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
Right at the edge of the courtyard. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I just want to have eyes on the dudes.
Perfect. So there is a moment now where I guess actually that whole group is left alone. All the NPCs are by themselves. So they have a whole conversation that you guys are not privy to, fortunately.
But aren't I like right around the corner? Trying to
Not right around the corner.
Through the wall, rather.
I
Through
mean,
the hole in the wall.
you're about 45 feet away. You're closer to 50 feet away through the house, and they're trying not to be heard because you guys are all sneaking up on people. So you're not really overhearing this conversation.
Okay.
Guy isn't coming with. Isn't this his kind of a?
no,
his-
he's talking
He can't sneak with you. He was going to charge into battle. He's waiting for you guys. You guys said that you had a plan, and specifically, he's waiting for you to do something because you guys said Morwen was going to do something. So he's waiting. But at the moment, you guys kind of all crouch into position, and all of you being aware of each other. Shay, you kind of, first of all, Shay, you from your position, you hear this kind of crunch, and for a moment you wheel around. You think, okay, there's somebody beneath me,
Mm-hmm.
and then you hear another crunch, and this kind of, and you realize that Gunter is walking down beneath you 2 floors. You don't hear Heinrich, who's above that, because Gunter's noise actually covers the bit of noise that 14 stealth check made.
Hear a sneeze. Like, a lot of soot.
With the sneeze, all of a sudden, all of those 5 figures just turn. You guys hear the kind of clatter as this wood plank is dropped on the ground. And you can see the 2 dwarves look at each other, and one of them turns and just says, "Go and check it out."
Cool.
The one that was looking in kind of...
I'm like right above these guys, right?
Yeah, directly above them.
I'm dropping off and like foot into his head.
Okay, everybody roll for initiative. Fantastic. This is how we start.
4 sessions, 3
Love it.
Stomp on his face.
Actually, because you guys are actually heading towards a predictable combat, I actually pre-rolled the initiative for this. Turned out pretty decent for you guys. Okay, so anybody natural 20? All right, 25 to 20.
20.
28.
Okay, Morwen with 28.
And I got a 20. What's up?
That's you've been rolling initiative really well lately, actually.
I
What's
know.
that new haircut?
I'm aerodynamic now.
Oh, you're so sleek. All right, 20 to 15.
17.
A little lower there.
17.
Little lower
Gunter,
there,
what'd
chap.
you get there, bud?
I got an 11.
Okay, you're not going last.
Hey, that's pretty good for me.
You got time to go hide.
One thing I need
It's-
to do for you though is
Better than a 10. That's
tell you
a
it's
win
doing
in
pretty
my
good.
book.
Shay, what is your raw dexterity?
19.
19. Okay, so you're going before Heliot. And then way down here is going to be
Look at you, Miss High Dex character.
negative. Okay, so when we begin regular initiative, it is going to be Morwen and then Heinrich, and then we'll go from there. But we are starting with you, Shay. You look over the top. You see this whole exchange happen between the 2 dwarves, and you see the one kind of pull out one of the hammers and begin to walk in. And as he gets right underneath you, there's this moment where you stand up And if any of them were looking, you're too quiet. They don't hear you at all. But they would see the sort of silhouette of this kind of ash-covered, because you've been quietly sort of moving and you let the ash settle. This ash-covered, almost ghost silhouetted from the top by the little bits of fire that are burning overhead. Before you suddenly just zoom in on them. What are you doing? Are you attacking?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead and make your attacks.
That is I can't math, 25.
25. Okay. That hits. Go ahead and roll damage.
That is a 10.
A 10. Okay, so
Heal
as you
two
drop
plus-
down,
Plus fall damage, question mark?
I'm gonna say, given your weight, it's not gonna add a whole lot of force. You are quite light, but go ahead and so that was your first attack. Are you making any more?
How do we end up? I guess is my better question.
Okay, so if you make that first attack first, what you're doing, which is I guess the only time you would make the first attack, you drop down from the top of the roof and you use the force as best as you can to basically drop your knee into this first dwarf's shoulder. You hear the leather parts holding on the pauldron snap as the metal shifts down out of place, and you see just like, naked dwarf shoulder.
Yep.
You feel something kind of buckle. And with that, I mean, it's 10 damage. You kind of land next to him. You land on your feet. You're a monk. He sort of falls almost to one knee and begins to pick himself up. There's disbelief in his face. I mean, you just dropped off of a roof in the middle of the Ring of Silver, which is under siege. He has no idea who you are. There's like shock.
Cool. He's getting another one because he's still standing.
All right.
And that's 24.
That was
24 hits. Go ahead and roll damage.
His first mistake
For
is that he's
8.
still
8. All right, so as he stands up, you see this disbelief on his face, and you see he's trying to bring the hammer to bear, and he's turning, and he's about to call out, and he just goes, "Ugh," and you suddenly turn, you punch him right in the face. The jaw kind of cracks a little bit. It doesn't quite break, but go ahead, and is there going to be a third attack?
There will be a third one if he's still standing.
He's definitely still standing.
Dirty 20.
He's got like a little bit of a bruise forming. Go ahead and roll damage for that, yeah. Oh, and hello, Campfire Quest, to
9.
everybody who came with me.
hey.
9. So with that, he kind of turns around again, looking at you, and he just goes, eh, and you just punch him again. You can see this time from the other side, like an equal bruise beginning to form. It's going to look like he has almost like a double chin at this point. But is that your turn?
That is my turn.
All right. So back into regular initiative order. Morwen, you are up. Heinrich, you're on deck.
So Shay just dropped down and attacked for a humanoid one.
Yeah, so like to your right, you see, right behind, you see there's another dwarf who's beginning with her big mallet to kind of come over. The other two humans are turning around.
Well, she's going to be stopped by my presence. I attack her.
Okay, so you rush out from the corner with pus drawn. Go ahead and make your attack roll.
14.
14. So as you dart out from the corner, you slice up. You can see the dwarf who is kind
right?
of. You do not have advantage. This is one of the very few points where you do not have advantage. So yeah, with the 14, you lunge forwards, and that dwarf who is watching Shay drop, you see the eyes kind of fall, and as Shay is taking those 2 hits, you can see his eyes kind of focus beyond and on you. And as you thrust forward, he's managed just to dodge to the side. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm gonna bust him.
Yeah, go ahead. You bring the sword around.
Okay, 16.
You bring butts around. It hits him right in the chest plate, but you can see this heavy plate seems to almost bounce off, and there is no connection. He turns, and as you make eye contact, your big cat eyes, the ears kind of go back a little bit. You can see, you hiss, and you can see he just kind of grins. That is your turn.
Take 1 step back.
Okay, that is going to provoke an attack of opportunity because you didn't hit
No, I
him.
think I just have to make an attack.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Right, swashbuckler is broken. Right. So, no problem. It's clang, and then you just dart back and then into the ash. It almost kind of swallows you up. From his perspective, it's just these glowing cat eyes.
You know what? I'm actually going to bonus action hide.
Okay, roll a stealth check.
Because why not?
Yeah, why not?
Alright, that's a 28.
28. So he sees these big cat eyes and then just nothing. That is your turn, Heinrich. What would you like to do? Shay, you're on deck.
So I can see this from my vantage point.
From your vantage point, you saw the underneath. You heard the dwarf coming. You heard Gunter sneeze, and then you heard the dwarf coming over. You saw past the window. Shay just, and then you hear, and then that is what you hear. You don't presently see them. I mean, looking down, yeah, you see them. You see Shay. You see the dwarves. Yeah.
Okay. So when I move a few feet forward, I see Shay kind of handling that guy. I saw Morwen having trouble with the plate armor dude. So I'm just going to take a guess and cast Create Bonfire on him. And
Okay.
Just, like hold it on that space, and he has to make a dex throw.
Alrighty. What's the DC on that?
Low to me, it's 17.
17. He fails.
Uh-huh.
So how much damage is he taking?
It's 2/8 plus my charisma. So 6. That's 14 fire damage.
14 fire damage.
That
He's on
fire-
fire, right?
It doesn't explicitly in the spell say, so that's up to your discretion. It is
What's the duration?
fire for the purpose of it. It's concentration up to a minute, and I get to
Alright.
hold it right there. So I'll.
So you're concentrating, and it's going to continue to hurt him because it is on. It's in his plate now. It sucks.
Yep.
Um, anything else?
I'll like kind of step back because I don't need to trace it back to my position. As far as they know, there's just fire there now.
Sure. So
I did
Morwen,
think so.
from your perspective, you see the dwarf grin after you hiss, and he's about to say something, and suddenly these very familiar little sigils kind of emerge around the edge of the breastplate that he's wearing, and suddenly it starts to get like red underneath, and you can see the grin just vanish, and it's replaced by this sneer and then a snarl of pain, and you can see the hand that's not holding the hammer kind of go and begin to try to pry the breastplate away. But Heinrich, that is your turn. That brings us to normally it would be Shay, but you took your turn as a surprise round. It is Helia. So from the same area that you were in, Morwen, Helia emerges. You can see her eyes kind of dart. She's holding 2 daggers in her hand, and she, from the perspective of you guys, let's see, pull up this map. She darts 30 feet across the courtyard and then disappears into that other building. And that is, as far as you can tell, going to be her turn. That is going to bring us to their turn. So, first, the one Shay that you are just pummeling on is going to draw out what looks like it's like a short sword. It seems,
Mm-hmm.
and that is going to be a 10 to hit.
No.
Yeah, I kind of figured. And as he kind of like pushes that down, you can see he pulls out the hammer that he was holding initially. That's cocked. And that's going to be a 15 to hit.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
So he swings and easily you duck underneath. And with this hammer, it's even more sloppy, this heavy weapon. You can see it coming and predict it way too easily. And with your hand, as it comes down, you actually tap the side of it and knock it down. It crashes at your feet but misses. That is his attack. The one that you are fighting, Morwen, is going to take an attack, or is going to take 2 attacks on you. How far back did you back up? You tried to hide, right? Mm-hmm. You rolled a 28.
28.
Okay, so actually, as he sees this glowing, he's going to actually take his turn to make a perception check here. You can see, looking around for the source of this fire, frantically, the hammer clangs onto the ground. He begins to like pry at the breastplate, looking around furiously, but he does not seem to see the source. The other 2 humans, from where they are, can see you, Shay. They're going to draw a bow. They're going to draw bows, short bows. I think. Hang on 1 second here.
Excellent.
They're going to draw short bows. Oh no, sorry, this is not short bows. These are heavy crossbows. You can
Doesn't
see-
matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I understand. But they produce these heavy crossbows. You haven't actually seen a design like this These are heavy, almost very light colored wood, almost like a cream color. But you can see they're sanded and polished to this really, really fine finish. But as they depress the trigger, that is going to be a 6 to hit.
No.
Okay, there we go. That is going to be a 22 to hit.
That'll hit. However, as my reaction, I'm going to deflect missiles.
All right, go ahead and give it a shot.
That is I can't math. 22. I reduce it by 22.
You reduce it to 22?
I reduce it by 22.
Jesus. Okay. So yeah, that is going to be a miss. That is, 100%. You catch this bolt as it howls through the ash and the wind. You snatch it with one hand. It doesn't even get close to your head, especially.
Cool.
You want to turn around, deflect it?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead and roll your attack.
That's a natural 20.
Okay. Roll a d10.
6.
6. You know what the worst part about that is? He was only going to do 4 damage with that. So you're actually doing more damage than he would. So as this you catch it, you turn it in one motion and you fling it back. It howls through the air and actually goes like past the crossbow, almost for a moment, perfectly lining up before it strikes him in the shoulder. And there is this kind of what? And a complete disbelief at what he just saw. That is his turn. The final human is going to close distance with you. He really doesn't want to, but with you, Shay. He has to actually dash to get to you, though, so he is not able to attack. But now, almost all of them are in contact with you, Shay, with the exception being the one that is a little bit on fire. Gunter, it is your turn. What do you want to do?
So can I see all of this taking place, like peeking out of the hole now?
Peeking out through the hole, you see Shay, you see all of these humanoids. For a moment, you see Morwen, and then gone.
All right.
You see Helia, and then gone.
I'm gonna be like, oh, this is where I'm gonna make Shay appreciate me, because I see these two humans coming at her.
Okay.
I'm like, I got this. Take out the crossbow, the heavy crossbow that I have, and I'm gonna fire a bolt at the one that's coming close to Shay.
Yeah, go for it. Roll your attack.
I'm gonna try to do it while maintaining my stealthy position.
That's not hard. Go for it. In full sight of you, Shay, Gunter is kind of like looking like he's trying to duck down and loading a crossbow.
That's what is a crossbow? Is that my dex?
Yep.
So is it a crossbow or a heavy crossbow?
Heavy crossbow.
Actually, I don't know why I asked that. It doesn't matter. It's dex.
Doesn't matter, it's dogs.
Cool. That's what I didn't want to hear, because that's a 7.
Yeah. So as you load it, you're like, oh, Shay's really going to appreciate me. And you close your eye and you aim, and as you do, your eye kind of shifts off to the right and wanders, and you fire far wide,
That's
out
nice.
into the darkness.
That's nice.
Anything else? 4, yells Gunter.
I guess bonus action. I'm gonna. My bad.
Okay. From inside the ruins behind you, Shay, you actually feel it. You almost react to it before you realize that it's a bolt from Gunter, because you could almost grab it.
I think
right by you.
if I hit you, so.
Yeah, it goes right by you and kind of out into the darkness. You see it miss, and you just hear Gunter from behind you just go, oh, my bad. Gunter, that is your turn, I guess. You could see Mador, this dwarf, come out, and his war cry is essentially just, oh dear, and he comes out and swings at the dwarf that is on fire. That's going to be a 21 to hit.
Can't believe you just said oh dear.
Yeah. He comes out with this axe and he just slashes in. You can see he actually like cuts him in the arm. It's not very deep, and it's partially because as soon as he hits, he kind of pulls back, kind of shocked the actual like blood coming from this other person. But he does a little damage. A little bit helps. That is his turn. From within the structure, and I would say Shay and Gunter, the two of you hear this, and actually Heinrich, from your vantage point, you hear this as well. From the direction of Helia, you can suddenly hear the sounds of a struggle. I'm going to go ahead and roll a couple of things real fast here.
Why did she have to go and be a hero by herself in another building?
Hopefully it's a good struggle.
It could be, yeah, you never know. I love the optimism. Oh, wow. Okay. So you hear what sounds like you hear Helia cry out in pain. At first, you hear the sound of kind of metal on metal. You hear what sounds like this, and then you hear Helia call out. It sounds as if she's been hurt. But that actually brings us to the top of initiative. Morwen, it is your turn, and then Heinrich. What would you like to do?
I assume that you didn't hear that, though, right? Or was it loud enough?
Oh yeah, it's coming from right behind you and to the left. You heard that for sure. It's coming from the other building, the one that Heinrich didn't go into.
All right, I'm gonna run after the yelling Helia.
Okay, so you hear Helia cry out in pain, and you respond quickly, turning and looking behind you from where you are. You're kind of from where you described. You're kind of over by this bench, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you duck around kind of behind and moving 15 feet over and looking to the left, you can see there is a big stone horse statue. You can see the muzzle of it, or I don't really know about horses. Muzzle, mouth, snout, snoot.
Muscle.
Its nose ridge has been bashed in. You can see bits of stone around it. You can see Helia kind of push up against it now, and there are 3 bugbears. One with these 2 massive cleavers, the other 2 kind of holding what look like maybe swords, perhaps. But they are kind of looming over her. You can see Helia has this long rent in the leather armor that looks like probably one of the cleavers dug deep into it. Helia makes eye contact with you, and I would say, Morwen, what is your passive perception?
15.
Okay, with a 15 and that close, in this moment, everything kind of slows down. You see Helia's face, this kind of shocked and for the first time worried expression. You see these 3 bugbears with a combination like grinning and then also kind of snarling. And then from beyond all of that, kind of somewhere in the depths of the house, you feel this kind of this heavy impact. What are you doing?
I think I'm going to.
What are you doing?
My action to help Helia up and get her out of there. I'm not trying to take on 3 bugbears and a thing coming.
Okay, so that is going to take 15 more feet of movement. So that's 30 feet that you've used. You get to Helia. You reach down. Oh, sorry.
No, I'll use my feline agility to.
Sure. Yeah. So easily, you kind of drop and use one hand to propel yourself even faster forwards. You get to Helia and kind of pull her back. You can see Helia turns to you, and you're going to try to pull her back. With feline agility, what does that make your movement?
I'm actually going to use bonus action dash to
Okay.
pull her instead of using feline agility.
What is your regular movement?
So it's 30, and both of them just double.
Oh, okay. So, that's 60 feet total.
Yes.
Okay. 30. You pull her out right about to where the door is. There's the 3 bugbears. Unfortunately, they are going to get attacks of opportunity on her because she is leaving the attack radius. So that is 3 of them, and you can see. I mean, I'm sure she's fine. Ooh, that's a natural 20.
Good.
Okay, let me pull up this bugbear real quick. So as you pull her back, first you can see one of them swings down this big implement, which turns out to be a morning star. And that is going to be my D8s. That is going to be 9 plus 2. That is going to be 11 points of piercing damage to just slam down into her. You can see she cries out in pain again. And then the natural 20 is also a morning star. That is going to be, wow, that's lucky. 16, 17, 18 points. And as this second morning star comes down, the first one hits her kind of right in the thigh and staggers her forwards away from your grasp. Her hand almost slips out of yours, but you manage to hold on. And then the second one hits her like directly in the back of the head, and she drops. You can feel her hand just go slack. She's unconscious, but you kind of pull her body right to the edge of the doorway. Anything else?
No. I'm gonna scream help.
You guys hear now Morwen just scream for help after that commotion. And I would say right after you hear that scream and you direct your attention, for all of you, and Shay, because your passive perception is so good, you all now hear a second. And you can actually see, Heinrich, from your vantage point, some of those little brick portions actually clatter on the ground. That is your turn, Morwen. Heinrich, what do you want to do?
So I can see her door, the unconscious Helia.
Let me pull that map up again real quick. From your vantage point,
I mean, it's just like a courtyard, right?
it is, but there's a wall in between you and her, and then like the house. There is no opening that you could see her through. You don't see Helia. You hear where it's coming from.
I mean, I can't see, so I don't know what that is, and my attention's on the dudes in the courtyard, I think.
For sure.
So that just kind of makes more sense to keep going at them.
Wow.
Well, like what? I can't see you, so I don't know where to go.
You heard my.
So up on the second story, you can see at this point there is the dwarf who is on fire. There is another dwarf who he kind of has this like little bit of a crossbow bolt sticking out of his shoulder. He looks really bewildered. And then there are these two humans who have been firing crossbow bolts out. Yeah, so she's at the bottom right door, kind of to the right of that horse statue. You're crackling out now.
Sorry. I'm thinking that I'll just have to wait until the next time, so I'll just keep attacking the dudes.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna, instead of, well, since he's on fire, and last time when he ended his turn in it, he should have taken the damage again, or saved, but we'll just skip that one. So instead, I'm gonna do Sacred Flame on him, which is the same thing, dex save, but radiant damage instead. I'm just like burning him with two different kinds of light.
13.
Okay, failed.
Okay. Go ahead and roll damage for it.
That's 13 radiant damage.
13 radiant damage. Nice.
Yeah, rolling pretty
okay. So you can see he's like trying to pry the breastplate away, and you can actually see flickers of embers coming out now from it. You can smell cooking flesh. And then all of a sudden, you reach out, and from your fingertip, there's this single circle of tiny, almost minuscule symbols, and there is no explosion from your finger. You see a matching point almost appear on the other side of the breastplate before suddenly there is this eruption of radiant flame. And you can see now he's like looking at both, unsure of what to address first. But he's looking pretty rough. Anything else?
I'm just gonna keep an eye. While I'm doing that, I'm also like casting my glance over to where I heard Morwen.
Okay, you cast your glance over and you see brownstone wall, dark windows, and not much. Although again, you are hearing the kind of. There is something large in that house. That is your turn, and actually, very appropriate segue. So, Morwen, from your perspective, you hear and feel that huge footstep much more strongly than anybody else. And as that happens, you can actually see the bugbears kind of turn their attention, and they turn back to you in these huge grins full of sharp teeth get even wider. And suddenly you see this huge purple foot loom into view from around the corner. And as it steps down, you hear again this. And in front of you, emerging kind of like actually having to break bits of the wall around him as he moves out, you see this large humanoid standing probably close to 15 or 16 feet tall. There is this violet skin, brighter and more vivid even than Santine's, the sort of lavender skin tiefling that you guys knew. You can see there are these lightning bolt tattoos, very similar to Gunter's, that come around the shoulder. You can see a huge gray-white beard and these glowing white eyes. Elements of electricity actually crackling out of them. And he holds in his hand actually a sword taller or longer than you are tall, Heinrich. But you can see he steps out. He's still hunched over in this house. He can actually not stand in the first floor. But even with that, kind of holding the sword sort of like braced in one hand that's braced up against a wall, you can see he looks at you, these huge glowing crackling eyes almost burning through you, Morwen, and you realize he's not looking at you, he's looking through you. And from this kneeling position, he pulls his arm away and points the short sword, or his short sword, which actually stretches out and past you, Morwen. And Gunter, you realize he's pointing directly at you. And you hear this thunderous voice, "You will be ready for judgment." And suddenly you can see he peels himself out of the space and begins accelerating towards you. Given where he is and where you are, he has 50 feet of movement. That is going to carry him 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50. So he storms out and actually blows through the wall and out into the courtyard. Gunter, he stops 15 feet away from you. And you can see there is no smile on his face. He is grim and serious. He points the finger, not holding a sword at you. And you can see elements begin to crackle and burn. You smell ozone. And as he points, he just says, "Judgment for the coward from the Storm Lord." And I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Oh, Dex. It's always Dex. Gotta invest in Dex. That's a 14.
It's a 14. Okay, that's a fail. You watch as up through the arm, as he points, he kind of begins to turn the hand, and you can see a lightning bolt actually coalesce in his hand, grasped almost like a javelin. He hurls it at you, and you hear the crackling energy as it explodes into your feet. That is damage. Okay, so hang on one sec. Actually, it's going to be a lot easier for me to Google roll this many.
Ouch.
So, Gunter, as the lightning erupts around your feet, you are going to take 49 points of lightning damage.
That's a lot.
It ripples up through your body. The bolt cracks into your feet, but it jolts upwards through your body. Every muscle locks tight. You feel bones crack with the force of the muscles contracting within you. And you smell, as it goes away, burning hair. You can see elements of the platinum beard kind of smoldering. Who has Doug?
Oh no! Ah!
Behind you, as all of this is happening, you hear a... There is nothing left of Doug. That's unfortunate.
That's rough.
That's awful.
That wombat is no more. You don't even see remains. He just bursts and then kind of sublimates into ash. But you see the giant still kind of holding the outstretched hand from the throw, smoke rising from the fingers. And then, Gunter, as this lightning crackles over you, you suddenly feel the tattoo seared and burning. And for anybody looking at Gunter, you can actually see bits of lightning begin to crackle out of his eyes as well.
Oh shit!
That is his turn. That is going to bring us to Shay. You are surrounded by humans. What do you want to do? They're humanoids, dwarves.
The one I landed on is still up, yes?
He is, yes. He's looking pretty hurt. Not as hard as the one that Heinrich has set on fire twice, but still pretty hurt.
We'll get to that. I'm gonna hit him because he's
Okay,
there.
go ahead and make your attack.
That's a natural 20.
Roll your damage, double the dice.
Oh, he lucked out though. That's only 8.
Okay. So you step forward, and there's a moment now everybody kind of turns when this thunderous explosion of masonry happens and this giant appears. You take advantage of it and you crack him right in the side of the neck. You see his body contort in an unnatural way as he responds. He's still up. Go ahead and, if you're going to do it, make some attack.
We're gonna do it. 18.
18. Yep, 18 hits as well.
For 9.
His body kind of almost begins to relax, and this time you grab onto his shoulders because he is mostly turned, and you use the momentum of that movement to pull your knee into the square center of the spine. His entire body seems to kind of contort in an unnatural way, almost as if he was bending inwards, but in the opposite direction. He drops to the ground. He is prone. He is not unconscious, but he is badly hurt. He is very badly hurt.
Does it look unrecoverable? Just at a glance.
You have no idea. Medicine
Cool.
not necessarily your strong suit. What do you
I'm
wanna
gonna
do?
move through, and in the direction of Morwen.
Okay. With your movement, you get through the dwarves and the humans, 10, 23, no problem. You can get all the way to Morwen, either going by the giant, like you could actually run beneath his legs and run into the building that way, or you could run the other direction, kind of the long way around. And what's your movement again?
70.
You can get to the corner of the house near where that bench is. Going the other way.
Close enough to get there to help pull her out, or
You'd be 10 feet away.
I'll take the 10 feet. That's fine. I'll end there.
Okay. You run over and you get to the edge of this building. You kind of come to a stop. Your hand's actually stinging a little bit from just laying an unholy beat down on those doors. And you can see Morwen hauling an unconscious Helia out, and you can see bugbears beyond. But that is your turn. That brings us to Helia. She's going to get a saving throw. That is one failure. All right, it is these humans' turns. Or these humanoids. There is a small cheer, and you can hear, they say the name Jotund. And there is a moment of kind of pause where they appreciate this massive creature. You can see a mixture of admiration and fear in their eyes. But they're going to turn to the only target that they see, which is actually Gunter. They're going to turn and they're going to enter the building, although only 2 can get into the doorway. But they're going to take their attacks. Gunter, no. That is going to be a 17 to hit.
That hits.
And a 7 to hit.
That
So-
does not hit.
Not too bad for the first round. Gunter, you take from that first slash, that is only going to be 5 points of slashing damage. Both are going to get a second attack. That is a natural 20 and a 15.
Fuck.
15 hit?
Yeah, they both hit.
Ooh, man, that AC, huh?
Yeah.
That is going to be 7 points of slashing damage from the non-natural 20. Or sorry, from the from the one that was not a natural 20. And then you lucked out huge and take 7 points from the natural 20. Yeah. That is their attacks. You can see there's still 2 behind. I would say they're going to reload the crossbow. They cannot fire it in the same turn. That is their turn. That brings us to you, Gunter. What do you want to do?
This thing just killed fucking Doug. Just zapped him. He was an innocent. I think Gunter just snapped. He's going. He's charging. I'm fucking up this big thing.
Okay, what are you doing?
I gotta hit him with my axe. That's all I got.
Okay. Sure. You charge out the door, past all 4 of these humanoids.
Oh wait. They're all. Am I
They're
gonna
in.
take
They're in. I mean, yeah. I mean, you would know that there's 4 humanoids between you and this thing in the 10-foot kind of wide broken doorway that you could try to push your way through. They are kind of menacingly standing in front of you. Actually, sorry, there's 3 of them. One of them is on the ground and kind of and not really in any way helpful, but there are 3 that are currently menacing you.
All right, I guess I'm gonna axe the closest one, and I gotta hack my way through, I guess.
Go ahead and make your attack.
Oh God, this is not gonna end well. That's what's this? It's a 15 plus my 2.
Yeah, that hits.
All right. Let's go. Little damage. Damage and good damage die. 9 points of slashing damage.
Now, which one are you hitting?
The one closest to me.
The one closest to you is okay.
So I'm making my way towards the big guy,
Yep.
hacking the closest one to me in that path as I make my way.
All right, so you go and with the axe, you slam. It actually kind of splinters part of this half plate on the dwarf, and as you pull back, there are sparks of electricity now kind of rippling off of the tattoo and brand that is stretched almost past your collarbone at this point. It's hard to see. You feel almost like beyond just the adrenaline of combat, there's lightning flowing through your blood.
So much so that it provides divine strike damage.
Are you using divine strike?
Well, I mean, it's like part of if I'm getting my abilities back.
Then go ahead and roll your divine strike damage.
Be a divine strike. Okay, there we go. That's 7.
7. Excellent. Okay, so
I like this.
all of a sudden, as you strike, from the tattoo, the electricity jolts down your arm. For a second, it goes numb, but it almost feels good. It's like icy hot, just kind of caked across the entirety of your arm. All those old aches and pains go away, and it channels into the axe, and as you pull it back, it seems as if there's almost a strike of lightning that hits it before it transfers when you swing and ripples across this creature. You can see the dwarf, his eyes grow wide. Elements of his skin actually burn. He is still up. That is not the one that Heinrich hit.
Okay. Well, then I guess I'm gonna have to go ahead and, recognizing that I'm back, baby, bonus action, throwing up me some, the one that gives me +2 to AC. I forget because I haven't used it in so long. Shield of Faith.
Okay, so as you kind of duck down, there is this of like thunderous energy that ripples over you, and you feel it take effect. Your magic is in fact that.
And you went Super Saiyan with golden
I know,
hair.
right? Oh man, yeah, right.
I'm
It's
literally.
as the electricity sparks up and the electricity actually takes hold, the hair does begin to kind of drift up a little. Yeah, sure, why not? Love it. Gunter, that is your turn. It is Mador's turn. He joins this kind of fray, and you hear the sort of and he is going to swing his axe, and there's going to be 12 to hit. So he just kind of swings and misses. That is his turn. These bugbears are going to pursue you guys out the door. Shay, they see you and they seem to, for some reason, kind of settle on you.
Okay.
They're going to charge and take their attacks. First one is going to be a 15 to hit.
Misses.
The second one is going to be a 19 to hit.
That'll hit.
Okay. Fortunately, it is not a surprise attack. That is where they get their best damage. But as he brings this Morning Star down, it is going to do something. It is going to do a lot. Where was this like 5 seconds ago? 16 points of piercing damage as it slams into you. Right as you bend forward to help, it hits your arm. You manage to pull away before it pierces anything, but you feel the sting of that for sure. And actually, it may only have just one extra dice. Oh. Okay, never mind. It's included. Okay. The second one, or the third one, rather, is going to be only a 14 to hit, so that misses as well.
I'm going to attempt to disarm him. That's my reaction. Which I have. It's sleight of hand on mine versus his athletics or acrobatics, your choice.
Alright, that's going to be his athletics. Ooh, that's actually not bad. Does he get any skills? He does not. So 16.
21.
Yeah, that loses. Okay, so as he goes and he hits you in the arm, you pull your arm away in pain, but kind of take the momentum and swing down and slam into his forearm, right into the spot that you know will make the entire thing go numb. His hand spasms, and you hear the clang as the Morning Star hits the stone ground. He is disarmed. And that doesn't do any damage, right?
Correct.
That is their turn. That brings us to the top. Morwen, what do you want to do? Heinrich, you're on deck. Morwen, you can see these bugbears now closing fast. They're within 10 feet of you. They're attacking Shay. You see Shay actually get hit.
Are they the only enemies that are very close? Is everyone
To
else?
you, yeah. Everybody else in the courtyard.
So like if I go and help them, it's not like Helia's gonna be like attacked immediately from me looking for side.
Hard to tell.
I'll go after a bugbear.
Okay. So you kind of drop Helia on the ground. She is unconscious and doesn't really...
You know.
Just a bag of bricks. And you sprint over to aid Shay. Are you attacking the bugbear?
And
Go ahead and make your attack at advantage. Does it get an ally within 5 feet?
it's going to be a 23.
20, that hits. You can make your sneak attack damage. So, Shay, as you hit this bugbear, or you disarm this bugbear and his eyes come up, you can see these big, long, almost like, what are those things called? Gremlin-like ears kind of fold back and the teeth come out, and very goblinoid in appearance. Suddenly, there's this shape that kind of looms behind. And Morwen, what is the damage on that?
To give me a second. So that's 13. That is a 29.
A 29. Okay. So as he is disarmed, he looks back up at you. The ears go back, the teeth come out, and he begins to say something in Goblin. He begins to just kind of say, "Shukti," and all of a sudden, through the heart, you can see this little point of a rapier appear and then disappear back inside. And you can see, still grinning, the eyes kind of roll back and drops to the ground dead. Bugbears only have 27 health. It's pretty good. You can see the two other bugbears suddenly kind of exchange a glance. Their ears go back and they hiss and seem to be focused now on you, Morwen.
I'm saying that's good trivia.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
Morwen, what do you want to do? That's your action, I believe. That's just your attack.
I would like to butts one nearby.
Okay, yeah, you slide 5 more feet over to the next one and go ahead and make your butts attack. That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
8.
And this time, as you kind of close the distance, you trip over a little bit of rubble and you stumble. Your swing goes wide with butts.
I'm going to back up towards Helia.
Okay, you back up towards Helia.
I
And
mean,
with your movement, no problem.
But I want to at least be positioned like next to her.
Okay, yeah, easy enough. No problem. It's only 15 feet away. You back up and get to Helia. That is your turn.
And I'm just gonna look at Helia and be like, "What make that?"
She doesn't respond. Heinrich, what do you want to do?
10 feet in front of the dude shooting lightning bolts at Gunter, because this is like right in the center of this courtyard. Yeah.
Basically, it's in the center. It's very technically. He is occupying the 4 squares to the bottom left of that pit. Gunter is kind of inside that broken doorway, and there's a crowd of people both down and up around him in that doorway. But you're only 15 feet away from the giant, and because of his height, he is actually basically eye level with you. He doesn't seem to have seen you, but he's about eye level with you. Okay. Pretty fuzzy.
I'm not hearing anything, actually.
Yeah.
Give me a sec.
I hear that.
Fuzzy.
Nope.
Still
Nope.
fuzzy.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, let's just do this real quick. I'm casting Guardian of Faith 10 feet in front of him, in between he and Gunter. So that every
Okay.
time has to dex save or take 20 radiant damage.
Yeah, damn. Okay, so first I'm going to do it.
And it just lasts for 8 hours.
Yeah. So what does your Guardian of Faith look like?
So I would assume it's sort of, I mean, it's hovering for sure in a way, but I think it would have some very like royal appearing helm, but modest shape to it. It's not like ornate
Sure.
outline. It's very like draped in cloth or something, and the shield, if you stare at it long enough, you can barely see like a sort of minimalist etching of the one eye closed, one eye open sigil of helm.
Sure. So you see this almost, it's
Very long, straight, slightly tapering broadsword.
okay. So you can see this figure. It shimmers to life. There's this one large glyph that appears, almost 6 feet tall, shedding light across 5 feet, and then it kind of turns sideways and seems to almost shift and expand into what looks like. You can see from the draped cloth that there is armor underneath. It holds the shield with this simple. It's just 2 lines, one curved, one straight, and you can see this helm that kind of comes to a point, and you can see there's a visor, but almost radiant light emanating from it. No darkness there. And you can see it holds the shield. The humanoids, the 2 dwarves and the human that are left, they rolled a 5, a 5, and a 6. The one on the ground is going to take the effect of this as well. He's the only one who rolled above, but what is the DC on that? I don't think he makes it.
17.
He rolled a 14. So all 4 of the humanoids fail, and I'll tell you right now, the one that you damage with the fire, as he appears, suddenly it's almost as if part of the armor burns away, and there's a pinhole of light, and then another and another before the inside of him seems to rupture with this radiance, and he dies. Technically set on fire from 3 sources.
How much? Yeah, right. How much HP did that take? Because it's like a math deduction damage amount.
Oh, okay. So that took 14 points of damage.
Okay, so that means that there is 46 left.
Okay. You actually, that's going to kill everybody. You're going to have 3 points left over. But so let me do the giant. He's not very dexterous.
That's what I was hoping for.
The dex save,
Yeah.
he fails. So that's only 4 points though, right?
Yeah, the remaining amount after wiping out all those other people. And then it's sort of like, it basically, I'm assuming, spinning around in a slow heavenly arc, just cleaving people.
Okay, sure. So all of a sudden,
And
the
as it
sword
turns,
comes out and it
on the
swings. Yeah, very cool. So yeah, it's just kind of turning in place, gently bobbing up and down. There's a serenity to it and a violence to it that's very off-putting. But that is your turn.
Yeah, I still haven't given away my position, so I'm going to keep it hidden.
All right. It is this giant's turn.
Okay.
He looks at you now, Gunther. He does not get his lightning strike back, but he takes the sword. He holds it up, and he says, "The Storm King has judged you a coward. You have your powers now. Prove him wrong." And he swings down at you. That is going to be a 22 to hit. That is going to be... Oh, wow. Okay. That is going to be 26 points of slashing damage. Oh, no, sorry. I did that very wrong. 16 points of slashing damage.
It's a little better.
as he swings that down, and then he pulls it back and swings again. You also get the sense, Gunter, as that first one hits you and like rents into your armor and punctures part of your already very damaged form. You imagine you could have been probably another 5 feet away and it still would have hit you. The sword is long. But he swings again, and that one is going to be a 27 to hit. That is going to be... Ooh, buddy. It's 19, 21. That is 30 points of slashing damage. As he tears it across your body. And Gunter, as it like carves into you, there is a moment where you hear lightning, although nobody else does, and you feel thunder, although again, it is only you. And in your mind, you don't hear a voice, but you can feel the presence of the word failure. That is the last thing you see before things go dark. Gunter, you are unconscious. That is going to bring us to... Actually, he still has his movement.
You lose in Super Smash. Failure.
Yeah, basically. It's just failure. You see he turns, and based on where he is going to... that was his action, actually. Heinrich, go ahead and roll a d4 for me, please. Because he's looking for you. He doesn't know it yet, but he's looking for whatever's causing all this stuff.
3.
Okay. You can see he turns and actually heads in the exact opposite direction of you, Heinrich, and begins stomping off in the direction of the other combat.
Okay.
That is his turn. He actually crosses the entire courtyard, and he is going to get to that broken down wall. But he is nowhere near anybody at the moment. He kind of ducks down, and you can see he's looking in. That is his turn. Shay, what do you want to do?
Helia and Morwen on the other side of the bugbears from me?
I think
No, you guys are all
we
on the same side. They're in front of you guys, yeah.
behind you were Helia, and the Helia's like behind me.
Yeah,
Like,
it's kind of like a stack. Slightly diagonal.
Okay. I want to go grab Helia.
Okay, so you take a couple steps back and you bend down. You put a hand on Helia's shoulder. You can see the two bugbears who are left kind of take a menacing step forward. But what are you doing?
I want to take her, and I want general direction of where Heinrich is. I want to make my way there with her.
Okay.
And I will use
so
Step of the Wind if I need to.
You're to get to Heinrich? Yeah, for sure. You're going to need to. So,
Done. Do it.
Regular move. So what does that make your movement? The step of the
Doubles it.
So 140 feet?
Yep.
Okay, so it's 10, 20, 30, 40.
And Jub's distance is doubled.
Okay, so all of a sudden, Morwen, you're there. You see Helia down on the ground. You see Shay next to, and Shay suddenly darts back, grabs Helia, and just drags her out. You actually like hear it says zzz, as Helia's like heels drag on the ground. It is fast, and you hear this kind of zzz, gone. Shay, you drag her across the entirety of the courtyard in a single bound, and pull up on the other side. You slide in the rubble, ash being displaced around you. Helia, kind of the momentum of her body swinging her around, and you actually get pulled like another foot because she is actually significantly heavier than you. But you now appear kind of where that doorway is. You still have another 10 feet of movement with Helia.
Move the rest of the 10 feet.
Okay, so you move into the house. You now have that glass living room table on your right.
Cool. I'm going to attempt a medicine check just to stabilize her.
Okay, go ahead and make your medicine check.
That's a natural 20.
Okay, so you bend down, and there you look at her. She's damaged. I mean, you can see like a deep cut in her chest. There is just blood with every beat of her heart. You can see a little bit of blood oozing out, but it gets less and less with each passing second. And you bend down. This is well beyond your training. This is like an era kind of healing thing.
Yeah.
And you do the only thing that you can think of, and you just punch her. Or you punch her right in the chest. And all of a sudden, with this kind of, there is a, and she like comes forward, clutching her chest. You already see in the bits of flesh that are exposed, like bruising beginning.
Sorry.
She gasps, and you can see it like holding this wound. You could
Stay
have
there.
done something.
Stay there.
And she kind of nods and like leans against the wall. But yeah, she's not unconscious anymore. Well done.
Stay there.
Like, clear.
Yeah, basically, but with a fist and just bludgeoning damage to the heart.
Literally, just like.
Yeah, you
Punched her back to life.
probably took like a year off her life. But
she's
you also
alive.
you added the rest back on, so you know it kind of counts.
You're welcome.
So, well done. That's your turn.
Yep.
It is now her turn. So she's going to kind of like edge her way up to a sitting position at the wall and reach kind of behind her. And she pulls out this small glass bottle. It's a health potion. Pops the cork and just drinks the whole thing down because she is hurting. And that's going to be just real quick for her sake. A nice 7 points of healing. And you can see just as she kind of drops the bottle, which shatters on the ground, she just holds like a real weak thumbs up to you, Shay. But that is her turn. The humans are all dead. The humanoids are all dead. Gunter, go ahead and make a death saving throw.
7.
7. You feel the darkness grow colder and denser around you. That is your turn. That brings us to Mador, who, looking around this now empty courtyard, looking across the giant who he attacked and just kind of walked away from him. You can see he just looks around for you, Heinrich, completely unsure of what to do. Could I have Gunter go ahead and roll a d4 for me?
Better, this fucking guy, you better see me fucking smushed on the ground over here. Bring me back, it's a 4.
It's a 4?
Yeah.
Okay. You can see for a moment he's just kind of looking around.
I can't see shit, I'm dead. It's fine.
But he does spot your form, and he puts the hammer back on his hip and scurries over to you. He's going to make a medicine check to try to revive you.
Critical fail. He
you are considered stabilized.
Oh!
He bends down, and actually, I don't know if you guys caught on to this, but the dwarves...
Jay runs up and punches you.
Yeah, come on. The dwarves are based off of the 7 dwarves, just because it was easier for me to keep the personalities and trait. And this is the dwarf that is modeled after Doc. So very ironically, he does have the best medicine skill. So worked out perfectly in your favor. He bends down, and you can see, you can't see, but he does pull out some bandages, begins to bandage up the wounds that you have. It's almost like throwing sand to try to soak up a flood, but he is doing his best. And you are considered
a bottle of wine at the liquor store and then throw on the stuff. No? I'm the only one who knocked over a whole thing of liquor in the liquor store when I was
a kid. I also don't go to liquor store. Yeah.
That's true. I was in Star Market, and I was like a little kid, and I bumped into like an aisle in the liquor. It's a whole.
Carolina bends down and bandages your wounds. There's a final moment where you feel the kind of thunder go around, and it gets just a little bit colder. And for a moment, you can see a storm. You remember back to Cord's Temple on the Heart, and you remember seeing that silhouette of a figure. And this time, you don't see a silhouette, but in those clouds, you don't see eyes, but you feel watched, and you feel warned. You are stabilized. That is his turn. That brings us to the 2 bugbears. It is now just you, Morwen, so they close in on you. The first one swings down with the Morning Star. That is going to be a 7 to hit. Second one is going to swing down, and this one is going to be a 23.
Yes. However,
Yes.
uncanny dodge.
No.
No.
That has to be an area effectively.
Right, no, this one's when an attacker that you see hits you with an attack.
Okay, so yeah, you can use uncanny dodge.
Evasion is the one area effects.
Gotcha. So that does what? That halves the damage? Okay. You would have taken 14 damage. It is halved to 7 points of piercing damage. But so one swings, misses you, duck underneath, your whiskers just kind of like millimeters below. And then as you like pull up, the smile on your face, ready to attack, the other one kind of clips you in the side with the Morning Star. But you kind of almost seeing it coming, whirl around. The jacket takes the majority of the damage, and you appear fairly unscathed. That is their turn. That brings us actually to you, Morwen. What do you want to do? Heinrich, you're on deck.
Puddle.
Want me to
Good
take
luck.
on 2 bugbears?
They only have 27 health.
I take on 2 bugbears.
There you go.
I go after the one that hit me.
Okay, so you take plus
like
the
that.
rapier.
Alright, that is a 24.
24 hits. You can go ahead and roll damage, and
Do I have it?
you do have advantage because you are a swashbuckler and you have no allies within 5 feet, and he has no allies.
You say, sorry, but I assumed that they were right next to each other. So
They're not. They were slightly spread out so they could attack from both sides.
Okay. Yeah, it's a 24.
Okay.
Can I have my Jeep? Okay.
I know you. It would be crazy to know this character now after playing.
It's mine. No PCs.
It's mine, hers and hers to not know.
Yeah. Okay. It's a. Okay. It's a 13.
Go ahead and roll your damage. Somebody send Morwen some D6s. That would be great. Like a bag of D6s.
That's a 27.
27. Okay, that's exactly how much health this has. So as it like comes up, it strikes you. You spin with the force, allowing the red jacket to take most of the blow. It kind of pulls you towards him, and you use the momentum to swing the rapier in. You pierce right through the jugular. You pull it to the side and shred it, and this creature drops to the ground dead. There's one bugbear left.
I fought some.
Okay, you pull the short sword around too. Go ahead and make your attack.
5. Bucks is not doing well.
Big miss, completely missing this creature. But you can see his ears back, the goblinoid teeth kind of disappearing behind what now looks to be a pretty frightened expression. But that is your turn.
I hiss and I back up.
Okay, how far do you want to back up? You have your full movement.
Like 10 feet.
Okay, you back up 10 feet and you end up. Actually, that would pull you right into like where you're in the doorway. That is going to bring us to you, Heinrich. What do you want to do?
Okay, so with the bonus action, I'm going to use Healing Light on Gunter to give him, because it's 60 feet away. I'm assuming that's.
Do you need to be able to see him?
Yeah, and I can't. Can I not see him?
He's floor below you.
Oh, I thought he was across the spot. Never mind. I think I misunderstood. Okay, I can't see him. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And I can't see Helia either, but she's fine. So we're just.
To you.
I'm upstairs on the 2nd floor.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So I'm just going to use Synaptic Static on the giant.
Okay, so yeah, you can just see the giant's back and like his sort of rear end as he's bending down into the space. But yeah, what kind of save is that?
It's an intelligence save.
Intelligence save. Ooh, I don't think he's gonna make it. That is going to be he has no bonus to that. That's gonna be just an 11.
Oh, fail.
Okay, how much damage did he take?
Okay, here we go. Hold on a sec. Take damage, and for 1 minute he subtracts a d6 from his
D6?
attacks and ability checks.
That was how much psychic damage?
20, what did I say, 20?
29?
29.
Okay, wow, okay.
And then just the minus d6 attacks and ability checks.
So as you concentrate on the spell, you can see these little glyphs appear on either side of your head, almost forming what look like elements of a halo for a brief second before they leap across and almost form this mirror image, although inverted and more jagged in their celestial nature, before they seem to almost reach into the skull. and you can't see the face, but you would imagine he actually winces a little bit. You can see the body becoming a little bit more rigid, and it begins kind of backing out of the hole. Anything else?
Moving to the stairs. I think it's no longer advantageous for me to be up here.
Okay, so you pull across the room itself that you're in is only 15 feet long. You get into the hallway, you move 15 feet down. You're right at the top of the stairs now.
And that's just like where I'm continuing to move as my turn ends.
You got it. All right, that is your turn. It is now the giant's turn. He pulls out from, actually, Morwen, you would hear this large voice, although you wouldn't understand it isn't giant. There's this kind of and pulls out, looks around. Heinrich, you can no longer see because you are down to the stairs. I don't think anybody can see him. Oh no, Gunter, you can see him. And as he turns around, you can see his sight turns, and these two eyes of electricity settle on you again. And suddenly, you can see in his hand this rippling energy begin to appear again. Go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw, buddy. That's a rough place to be.
This fucking guy.
Just terrible timing.
Oh, fucking. Is a 15 enough?
Not.
Oh, wow.
So, Gunter, you are going to take.
I'm down again.
You are. So actually, this is an interesting point. Gunter, so you're taking.
Oh shit! Is it more than my kill amount?
I don't know. You're taking 57 points of lightning damage.
How much does it have to be to kill me right away?
How much health do you have?
109?
You're fine.
Oh my god.
You're good.
So as he hurls this lightning forward, it erupts, cascading again through your feet, and you feel your body go rigid before darkness takes you again.
God damn it. Like, I'm back!
Down on the ground, unconscious, crackling across. You feel probably one of your teeth chip as you go down. One of your very few remaining teeth.
My only tooth.
Yeah, your only tooth gets chipped.
Now
But-
Fang.
That is his turn. That is going to bring us to Shay. What do you want to do?
Did I see any of that exchange or no?
From where you are presently, yes, absolutely. You see Gunter stand up. You see Gunter kind of like get ready to go, and then all of a sudden lightning strikes, erupts, and seems to almost rip him to the ground. He
Did
drops.
Malvar die too? Or did...
You know what? It's within 10 feet, I believe. Give me 1 second.
Oh, shit.
Each creature within 10 feet. Yeah, hang on 1 second.
Curiosity.
That's a great point.
Because I was hoping he could help me.
He actually, so he makes the save. However,
But don't actually, because he can revive me again.
that is 27 points of damage. He's down. So as it ripples across, he saves. That is still enough to ripple across and knock him down to the ground. The hammer clatters on the ground and away from his hand. So he is unconscious as well, but not dead.
Can I get over to them in a way that does not draw the attention of the giant?
You don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Is your question, can you do it in a way in which you will not be in his eye line or his sight line?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
You know what? Actually, if you go down to that corner, it's kind of like a 50-50. You may not be able to see you. Because Gunter is passed out like right in the doorway.
Mm-hmm.
Mador is the square above that. So if you tuck yourself into that corner on the left side of that big dwarven stonehead that's outside, you might be able to be hidden and be next to Gunter. You can't tell, but it's possible.
How
you
far
doing?
away is it?
From where you are right now,
yeah.
25 feet.
How much of an inconvenience is it to Shay to say?
35 feet.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Step of the wind.
Okay. So the key point.
Stepping
Yep.
out the window.
I want to go grab. What's his name? Myrar?
Mador.
Bring him back over to the
DOR.
general area where Helia is.
Okay, so to do that, that is going to take you in total 70 feet.
That's fine.
Okay.
Back
So
over. Grab Gunter.
rush
Same
over,
thing.
grab Mador, drag him. You drag him like 15 feet, use the momentum to kind of slide him 15 feet. So he ends up kind of right up next to Helia. And you run back. What are you doing with Gunter?
Same thing.
Okay, you grab him. It's like shuffleboarding dwarves. And you kind of run and slide him forward. With all of your speed, yeah, no problem. You make it back. And it's you and just unconscious dwarves. And then Helia basically unconscious, just barely holding on, kind of propped up. And you can see through the pain, she actually says, "It's a collection of us you're building up." Ugh. And she's trying to get back up. She's hurt.
Stay down. And the closest one, me coming back up, I assume it would be Gunter. I will attempt a medicine check.
Okay, go ahead and make that medicine check. Man, key points basically just give you free actions.
Yeah, they do. 22.
Gunter.
22. You
It's
bend
wild.
down, and this time it doesn't take quite like a punch. You can actually see with Gunter all the lightning rippling across his body. I mean, all that you really need to do is actually do like the basic Zinni, and you actually this has already canonically come up. The Zinni version of CPR, just chest compressions, and actually with one hand you're able to. You feel like the heart start again. You're still unconscious, but you are stabilized. That is your turn.
Yep.
That is going to bring us to Helia. Helia is going to lean over, and she's going to drag herself 10. Sorry about that. 10 feet, and she's going to attempt a medicine check on Mador, and she's not going to make it. She's just trying her best, but you can see she's like pulling aside clothing and then just kind of grabbing onto her own wounds. You can see an element of like blood trickle down and then drip onto him. She's not doing great, and she's not really able to help. That is her turn. Gunter, you are unconscious. Mador, you are unconscious, but a death saving throw. That is a success. That brings us to the last remaining bugbear. He is going to look at you, Morwen. He's going to look down at all the corpses, and he is going to turn, and he is running. It would provoke an attack of opportunity if you want it. Oh no, you backed up 10 feet. Never mind.
No, I did.
You don't get it. Yep. So he runs. You watch as he disappears around the corner and to the right, towards where the giant disappeared. And you lose sight of him for a moment. I would say, yeah, nobody sees him. That is his turn. Morwen, what do you want to do? At the moment, looking around, you don't see anybody. You heard another lightning strike, and so you know that giant's in the courtyard.
Gonna do a little peek-sees to see what the hell's going on.
Make a perception check.
That is a 21. What
You
the hell is
go to
going
the
on?
side, your ponytail kind of swinging over, and you see this giant, his hands still outstretched towards the door. You see smoke and you see ruin. You don't see any bodies. I would say, with all this happening at once, you just see a flash of orange as Shay pulls Gunter out of the way. But you can see he's looking at where your friends were. You don't see anybody other than the giant, just kind of looming in the courtyard.
And I saw Shay. I saw bits of Shay pulling Gunter. I don't know that she has Gunter. Are you just telling me that?
You just saw Shay moving. You didn't see her pulling Gunter. What are you doing?
I've got to loot the bodies of the bugbears.
Okay, go ahead and make it. You know what? Hold off for 1 second, but yeah, you're making an investigation check on this. So you begin looting the bodies. That's amazing. And actually, I'm going to mark that down. It's a role-playing point right there. Morwen, that's your turn.
Right now.
Perfect. Heinrich, what do you want to do? You are at the stairs.
I'm
It's
going
15 feet down to the bottom.
going down the stairs and trying to get more towards the courtyard area. I
So you
suppose.
get 15 feet down to the bottom of the staircase, and you look to your right, and there is a giant, like 15 feet away from you, literally his hand like outstretched towards you. You look to your left, and you can see diagonal to you an unconscious Gunter, a slumped over Helia who's kind of like leaning over Mador, who's unconscious on the ground, You see Shay kind of like crouched there, ready to move. What do you want to do? You have 15 feet of movement left.
Okay, so if I move, will it provoke attack of opportunity? Is that what you're telling me?
Hard to tell.
Okay, well, all right. I saw Gunter. He's looking rough. I saw him get, or like, gathered. He got hit twice. So now, with that line of sight, I'm gonna use healing, or what is it? Healing light.
Okay.
Bonus to just do 5d6 healing for him, just to get him back up.
Nice, really nice. So as you like gesture, there's a moment, and actually, Heinrich, for you, it's a really interesting moment because you pause. You see this massive creature, and you can remember a time where drums would beat, and you had a very different agenda. But instead of attacking, you turn and look at Gunter, and you cast this radiant energy in his direction. How much healing is Gunter getting?
15, 19, 19.
19.
Yeah.
Gunter, all of a sudden, from the darkness, there is a burst of radiant light, and you expect thunder, you expect lightning, but there is none of that. There is this sort of feeling of like a vigilant gaze upon you. You feel for just an instant very protected, and then suddenly you burst back to consciousness for the second time in a very short period. Your body, I mean, you feel 289 years old. I mean, it hurts, but you are back.
Okay. Regular action is to use Eldritch Blast with both beams hitting him, pushing him 10 feet away from me.
Gunter?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Come on. Fuck off.
I thought you were trying to maybe move him out of harm's way or something. Okay. So 2 bolts of radiant.
Not too much. It's
I
fine.
was like, damn. Yeah. You're just like, I'm done with Gunter.
No, I need to prove that I can bring people out from the dead more, so my god will love me more.
Man, you figured out a way to farm favoritism from your god, wasn't it?
I get how these piety points work now. JKLOL. Anyways, all right. So I'm gonna do both bolts hitting this dude, pushing him 10 feet back. Before I continue, to fast forward what I'll do later, 15 feet out towards my friends.
Sure.
So first one is a 24.
That hits.
Okay, second one is higher than that, 17 plus 9, 26.
Also hits.
26. So that's 2d10 plus charisma rating. 7. 12,
You're
17.
right, we do need a big bag of dice. 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
And push him back 5 or 10 feet.
Okay.
And then I'm moving 15 feet as like I'm just like all of this was instantaneous. Like, oh, help friend, get the fuck away from me. Continuing on that way.
It's one hand gets held out, the other hand gets held out, and around you, the entire space is lit up with this brilliant teal energy as glyphs of 2 very different types erupt around your hands. These circles of complex celestial glyphs. That one emerging and healing light towards Gunter is an almost stream, and the other 2 violent bursts. And as they strike this giant, you can hear him grunt, and there is this as his feet drag in the stone, and he lurches 10 feet back. You register first surprise in these storm white eyes, and then his mouth, like a corner of it, turns up in a grin, and you can hear in common he just says, "Very good." Anything else?
That means a 15 feet of movement, just like to get out of the building, basically, but not the direction that he moved in.
Sure. So you run kind of past Gunter and the others and get to that doorway. No problem. That is your turn. That brings us to him. Let's see if he reloads his lightning. He does not. Split decision. He is going to stamp into this house. He has to duck down. That's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. He stomps through the small space. Gunter, he is... he's coming for you. He reaches you in the space. He's ducking down, and he can't swing with the sword, so he thrusts it out. That is going to be a... Oh, you might not get hit. What was your AC again?
Currently, it is a standard leather armor 12.
I forget how much he gets as a bonus. That is going to be a 25 to hit.
Oh yeah, that was a near miss.
Yeah. Okay. That is going to be Oh, buddy.
Am I down again?
I don't know, man. 15, 21, 26 or something. That is going to be 37 points of slashing damage.
It's like fucking tug of war with this guy.
So he slams this point now into like the side of your chest. It ruptures the armor. Your chest.
Sorry, I hit the D6, but it doesn't matter.
And it's a D6. Well,
No, not the damage.
No way to say that. Yeah, but
for 1 whole minute, so there's 5 more rounds where any attack or ability check he minuses a D6.
so technically that's a 21. But he strikes you with that. You go unconscious, correct?
I do go unconscious.
But the second, so he swings it forward, and as you drop, he slashes to the side. At, I'm going to say, based on where you all are. Morwen, go ahead and roll a d4 for me.
I just need
Two.
one where I don't get down before I go.
The sword slides, and you hear it scrape along the rocks as it cleaves Mador in two. He is dead.
Well,
He was a banker.
yeah, but he has resistance, and he had information and shit.
Yeah, he's got
That is Joe Tun's turn. Shay, what do you want to do?
I'm gonna hit him because he's there.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
How's a dirty 20?
A dirty 20? Yeah, that hits.
For 10 damage.
10 damage. Okay, you rush forwards. You strike him, and you feel, I mean, that's flesh and skin and bone like anyone. But as you hit him, there is no give. This body is massive. Go ahead and roll your next attack.
How's a 19?
19 hits.
For 7?
7. Okay. You can see again, you hit him again. Right now, you're just striking him in the leg. You hit him once in the shin, again in the shin. Punch, punch. What else?
I'll spend one for Flurry of Blows, because why not?
Your bonus action, flurry of blows attacks.
That is 27.
That hits as well. Believe it or not.
Who would have thought? 9.
9. All right.
And the last one, natural 20.
Roll your damage for the natural 20. That's a lot. That's 3 tonight, I think.
Yeah.
14!
14. All right. So you rush forward, and it's dun 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 dun, and you can see like the indents left in the skin for a moment. You hit so fast before they all kind of bounce back out and retake shape. You can see there's now, where there was kind of the beginning of a smile, there's now a broad grin. That is your turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of shuffle over because I almost want to put myself between him and Gunter and Helia, because I'm at least still up. But
sure, if you want to, you can.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
That's what I'm doing.
You slide over and kind of put yourself between them. That is your turn. It is Helia's turn. She's going to look up, and she's going to drag herself 15 feet down the hallway towards you, Heinrich. That is her turn. That brings us to Gunter. Make a death saving throw, please. They do reset every time you go up and down, so at least you have that going for you.
15!
That's a success.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
That's big success.
Hopefully he doesn't step on you in the midst of this melee. That would be, that would probably kill you. That is your turn. That brings us to Mador. Mador is dead. The bugbears are dead and gone. Morwen, what would you like to do? Heinrich, you're on deck.
I'm looting the bodies.
Oh, right. Okay.
Every time I hear something with the giant, I kind of just like...
Okay, fair enough. Looting the bodies is Morwen. Heinrich, what do you want to do?
Okay, sorry, Gunter, to do this with you, but 5 more d6s coming your way, just in case.
All right, Gunter.
I'm Gunter again.
Go ahead and roll your health. This time, let your hand again.
Killer. All right, Gunter. I think this is enough.
You all think you're attacking Gunter today.
Can you guys stop assuming I'm still evil? All right.
Good. And still, go ahead and roll your d6 for healing. D6s.
16 this time.
16. Gunter, again, as you go down, you come gasping to life. Your hair hurts, your muscles hurt, your fingernails, things without pain or
How many times has it been?
As a you paid. You've died a couple of times in your 287 years, but this is the most in a small span.
This is quite something for sure.
You kind of lurch up, bits of skin flaps like hanging down. There's exposed bone. There's a little bit of like your tooth is kind of dangling out on just a little bit of flesh. You are hurting bad, but you were back.
Beautiful.
Henrik, that's a bonus action.
Yeah, so then with the regular action, because Shay's still right next to him, gonna give her an opportunity attack by doing 2 more Eldritch Blasts and pushing him 10 feet back.
Okay, love the combo. Go ahead and roll those attacks.
Okay, first, so the 2 attacks are a 19
That hits.
and well over 19, 16 plus 9, 25.
That hits as well.
Okay,
Shay, you can go ahead and roll your opportunity attack as well.
for 17 more force damage.
17. All right. And he gets pushed 10 feet, you said?
Correct.
Okay. As these blasts kind of strike into him, and again, he is shifted back.
27.
Shay,
27.
roll your damage on.
Good lord.
9.
Okay. As he goes back, there's the first Eldritch Blast hits, and he's about to slide backwards. You kind of grab him by a handful of flesh. You don't grab a garment or anything. And you stop him for just a moment and strike him before the second blast hits, and he is torn from your hand. He slides backwards. He's looking pretty rough. He's at a point now where you're beginning to see signs of wear. You can see there is like a little bit of blood coming from the scratches that you just left. He's not looking like he's on death's door or anything, but he's actually showing some damage now. Anything else, Hunter?
Sorry to pose myself between the 2 remaining surviving dwarves on the ground and like actually stand in the way of Gunter this time and just look to him and be like, out.
Okay. So you are sitting between them.
So like Heinrich and I are like flesh almost.
Yeah,
Okay. You're standing side by side.
if possible, I would try to be like a little behind Shay just because she's a little more nimble. I don't want to like get in her way kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm more
So
Gunter than her.
worth noting, as you hit him with your Eldritch Blast, the blast actually roll 1 more d6 of damage, because as he is blasted out, his head is going to slam through the wall.
Nice.
Because of his height. So you're getting an extra little bit of damage.
5 more damage.
Nice.
Hey, that's great.
Yes, it is.
You see a small trickle of blood kind of going down the lavender skin or the violet skin. But he holds out his hand. You can see again to kind of form the lightning bolt. Nothing seems to form. And this time you actually see a little bit of frustration before he just kind of shakes the hand out, takes the sword, he's looking at Gunter, but because you guys are between, he's going to give an attack to each of you. So comes forward and we're going to say it's minus d6. He's going to slash. It's 1 slash that's hitting both of you. Shay, that is going to be, I'll roll the d6 at the same time. That is going to be a 26 minus 3, so 23 to hit.
Yep.
And then for you, Heinrich, that is going to be a natural 20. So it's 34. Minus 4 to 30. He still gets the benefits of the critical.
Yeah.
But first for you, Shay, that is going to be 12. That is going to be 15. That is going to be 23 plus. That is going to be 31 points of slashing damage to you, Shay. And then Heinrich, that is going to be Oh my god, you are so lucky. That is so for the first 3d6, that is a 1, 1, and 3. So that is 5. Well, that's much better. 19, 36. That is going to be 45 points of slashing damage. As he makes the swing. You're cutting out. I can't hear what you're saying. But he swings and he strikes you flush in the side. It tears elements. You can see like links of the armor spark as the blade goes through, and it takes enough of the damage that it doesn't quite strike Shay with the same force, but it hurts.
So hold on, Joe. I also use Hellish Rebuke once he hits me.
Roll your damage or roll. What is that? Does he get a save?
Just 3D. No, it's just automatic because they hit me. That's like the trigger for it. The reaction to do 3d6 plus charisma or 3d10.
Nice. It's basically like free. What's the cantrip? Necrotic touch or whatever.
Chill touch.
Oh, inflict wounds. It's basically just free inflict wounds reaction.
Inflict wounds is not a cantrip. Inflict wounds is one of the most
it's a level.
brutal
It's like a level 1 spell.
Heinrich, what was the damage?
31 fire damage, my friend.
31 fire damage.
Yeah, Jesus. The modifier.
Okay, hang on. So as he slashes, you can see there's blood that spurts out of Heinrich. Little bits, actually, elements of the armor, like rings, go out onto the floor. There's like the sound. It sounds almost like coins hitting the ground. But at the same exact moment, you can see on the giant, equally large, this rent, sort of just fire burns across an almost identical mark on his chest. You can see at this, he actually stumbles back a little bit. He looks surprised, and he looks up at you, and there's a mixture of fury and respect.
Yeah, I smile back at him very much so. It's kind of like a well, a little more like intimidating and cinematic than that one. Yes, like that.
Okay, so with that, then, Heinrich, he is going to point at you, and he is going to... Let me see if this is an action or a bonus action. I don't remember, because I'm not really a player. It's an action. Okay, never mind. That is his turn. That brings us to you, Shay.
Is he back up in melee range, or?
Yeah, he's back up in melee. Hellish Rebuke doesn't push him back, right? So yeah, back up in melee range. He's within 5 feet of you. He is looking hurt. You can see now he's breathing heavy. That last attack took a lot out of him.
Cool. He's getting hit.
No matter what.
Because
Okay, go ahead and roll your damage.
How is a 23?
23 hits.
9. It's my
Alrighty.
number tonight, apparently.
Yeah, I guess.
20 and 9 are two lucky numbers.
I guess.
Bad number.
25 for the next hit.
25 hits.
For 7.
Alrighty.
And you know what? We'll do another flurry of blows because I can. It's a 23
23 hits.
for 10.
Alright. Final attack.
Is 21
21 hits.
for 8.
Okay. After the burn appears and kind of scorches across his torso, you can see there's a moment where Heinrich and this massive being, across all odds, this thing is bleeding, breathing heavy, but they're smiling at each other. You take this moment of distraction and leap forwards. You get up, you jump 15 feet into the air and just pummel him. You hit him first in the neck, then in the chin. You can see this like grin is broken as the head jerks to the side and he turns to kind of face this onslaught. You see him get hit in the nose, in the eye. He's jerking back. He is badly hurt. He draws back now, kind of holding his face. Anything else, Shay?
Just landing back in place and very much decidedly in front of at least the injured doors.
Okay. worth noting, you see hell yeah. She's trying to hide, but she's not doing a great job. That is her turn. That is your turn. That brings us to Gunter.
Hey, I got a turn. All right.
Yeah, all around.
First things first, using my righteous fury at the death of Doug, I'm going to use.
But the wombat. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, Malamar, like.
Didn't know him very long.
Yeah, we didn't know him very well. I feel bad, but like, he was in the resistance. He knew what he was doing. Doug wasn't
4 hours earlier, first of all. But either way, okay.
Doug wasn't innocent. So I'm gonna channel divinity, preserve life on myself, and give me some sweet 50 HP back.
Whoa.
Damn. Okay. So
Yeah.
Gunter, you almost reflexively clench your fist, and for a brief moment, lightning ripples out, and it is this photo copy of the brand that's on your back. Before the lightning seems to almost back into your skin and crackle out from your wounds, cauterizing them across your body. There is the smell of unpleasant burning dwarf, but you heal significantly.
Great. And then I'm gonna bonus action holy weapon.
Okay. What does your holy weapon look like? You haven't used it?
Doug.
Well, I think it's just like my normal axe, but it becomes imbued with radiant power. And
So as this axe suddenly erupts into existence, it is this crackling electric radiant energy that seems to almost spread from the blade. And you can actually make it appear, I think, right in front of him and attack him if you want on your turn.
Is that
I know. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a 6.
Yeah.
Holy weapon is a 6 spell.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
can I-
bonus free attack and then bonus move it to attack every other time.
Ah.
It's one of the best spells.
But that I was using it as a bonus action to
Yeah.
make it,
Yeah.
and my action was preserve life, so I can still attack.
It's
It
part of the
says
bonus
it
action.
says in the spell, if I remember correctly, you can immediately make an attack.
Oh, okay. I didn't even read that part. Amazing. Okay, then I'm gonna beat his face up.
Go for it. Give it a shot.
Shiny axe.
Give it your best shot.
That's 16 plus plus my plus,
Yeah.
oh, is it? Because
Yeah.
it's
Oh.
wait.
It's your. I think it's your spell. Your.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just your wisdom if that's your spellcasting.
Either way, a 16 is what you needed to hit. So it hits.
Okay. So then that's 2d8 radiant damage on a hit, plus the extra divine strike. So it's 4d8 or d10 and 3d8.
Yeah, D10 3D8.
All right. So that's 1. 14 damage.
14. You slash out. You kind of move your hand, and the axe away from you seems to almost move as you do. It slashes across, and it kind of creates an X with the burn that Heinrich left. You can see blood kind of spew out of it, and like electricity crackles out as well. He's hurt. He sinks to one knee. The sword almost drops out of his hand. He just manages to keep a grasp on it. You can see one eye now swollen shut.
There's
he's-
also, just for the effects of the spell, there's 30 feet of bright light now, and it's 30 feet of dim light beyond that.
Okay, sure. And so there's this radiant light now emanating off of him. The entire courtyard is lit up. You see stark shadows cast out in the street beyond, little bits of rubble casting these black lines as it seems to almost be like sunlight. But that is your turn?
Yes, that is my turn.
All right, Morwen, what would you like to do?
I'm gonna start eating a ration, and then I see the morning star that the first bugbear used, and I pick it up. I'm like, I got you all like this. I wonder what he's handling the no magic thing.
Great. So you continue to loot the bodies. What would you like to do?
I mean, we're just gonna see the continuation of this follow-up. More Eldritch Blasts at him.
Go ahead, roll your attacks.
First one is 16.
16 just hits. That's exactly
Okay.
what you do.
And then the second one is, well, it's above that, 13 plus 9, so 22.
Roll your damage.
21!
21 points of damage?
Yeah! Force damage.
How it
That
happens.
yeah.
Tell us how it happens.
So after he gets slashed and then like looks down at it, the blood's kind of coming out, and he kind of like looks up. I'm assuming a little concerned at this point. If he were to like look down at him get hit, and he would like look back towards like down the hallway at us.
No concern. There's just this weak smile, and you can see this very much almost joy through this last moment.
Two bolts just hit him both in the face, one then the other, and kind of like back into the wall again, I guess.
Yeah, so and then he just gets slammed back through the wall, and you can see he almost get like his feet actually leave the ground. For a moment, there is this nearly 2-ton being projected through the air. It flies 10 feet and then down, and actually let me pull that up real quick. You can see he sags into the ground as he lands in the actual area that is that hidden tunnel, and he almost folds inward so that his legs and arms are kind of out. His head is kind of half in. He is dead, but he is wedged into the tunnel. Stones breaking around. You can see actually it's splintering wood that has been painted. There is almost like 30 feet across the cylinder that he's now wedged into. But with that, you kind of look around. There's still ash swirling around. There's fire. There's this glowing holy weapon. But you guys are out of combat.
So I'm just standing there like,
We will pick up with Morwen's investigation checks when we come back from break, because it is 10:52. We did run a little bit past it because we're in combat.
Yeah.
But we will take a quick 10-minute break. So we will be back at 11:02. We'll see you then.
Woo! Bye.
Welcome back to Adventures in Alberon. Thank you very much to those of you who stuck through the break. Talon asked a great question, and we're going to get to that in a second. Just a quick couple of announcements for those of you joining us and who didn't get the announcements at the top of the episode. A big thank you to Sophie Bischoff, who did awesome art of Platinum Gunter, of Doug, and of the Orchard. Super cool. Check it out on our Instagram if you haven't already. It'll be up on our website tomorrow. Also, we are doing a second campaign starting this fall called Duskwalkers, and we need players. So that's going to be every other Sunday. If you have any interest, send a quick email to cast@alberonrpg.com. And then finally, in our store, the Finger Gang logo shirts and various other apparel are back. Check them out if you haven't already. The Alberon logo shirt is also updated and has some new colors and designs, so check that out as well. I was trying to get one. I actually have a really cool sleeveless Alberon logo shirt with our nice blue color, but didn't come in time, so I'll have it for next week. But check that out. It supports the show. I also wanted to say, speaking of support, huge thank you to Dawson Talon, who both gave bits. Talon, congratulations on being the very first to reach the big Peeboo stage. I can't remember off the top of my head what the next stage is, but I think it might be a member of the Cat's Claw crew. I can't remember. I'll look.
Biggest Peeboo.
The biggest Peeboo. That's going to be like a one-shot in and of itself. But then also, I wanted to say a huge thank you to Talon again and Isumiwa for subscribing, Talon for 5 months, Isumiwa for an entire 7 months in a row. Thank you so much. The support is deeply appreciated. And then finally, for you, Talon, you asked at the break what had happened to Finjamin, it was Benjamin. Yeah, I think it was his name. No, it was Finnegan and Benjamin combined, but I can't remember how. But anyways, the Fey Pig that had been summoned within Cord's Temple, all the way back in the heart of the Sunrest Islands. So very briefly, Talon, you would see in this brief cutscene of a movie, there is this beautiful kind of ambience. The air itself seems to have almost motes of lavender and lilac that seem to be drifting forever from the sky down into the ground and settling and seem to almost fade into the amber-colored grass. And you see a little snout kind of sniffing across before it pulls a little bit of the grass away and seems to chew on it. And pulling the camera back, you see the Fey Pig. A little bit older, not much. Time passes differently within the Feywild. But as he seems to kind of trudge through this field, you can see behind him these bushes that seem to be almost pieces of jagged glass stuck together. You can see suddenly in the background, the pig looks up and you see passing through huge, this large shape kind of looming off in the dark and then passing. And then suddenly, from beyond, you can see the pig turn and seem to almost start. And very quietly a figure emerges. Pale skin, a high elf maybe, based on her features. Although just a hint of copper, maybe a wood elf. She bends down and kind of holds a hand out to the pig and says, "Hello, friend. Have you seen?" And then the scene kind of fades to black. That is what is happening with the pig right now. When Talon asks the lore question, I'll answer it because Talon's a great supporter. So that is what is happening with the pig. For those of you who are also joining us kind of for the first time, Alberon is a very, very deeply written world. So all the characters that you guys have met, they are still doing things.
Unless they die.
Rotting and decomposing is an activity. But yeah, unless they die, they're not really actively engaging things. Also, you see a great song for the Fey Pig. But pulling us back to the present and to the current moment, you have all just defeated not only a storm giant and his retinue, but also you've defeated death basically in reviving Gunter like 4 times.
Yeah, that was a lot.
The ash steadily falls in the courtyard. This giant's body is wedged into the tunnel that Mador, now lying bisected laterally on the ground, in front of Helia, who is now kind of like just getting to her feet, holding her own wounds. Morwen, go ahead and make an investigation check, however. You are in the midst of these 3 dead bugbears.
That's a 3.
Right. Well, you know.
I spent 3 turns doing it.
You did. Actually, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and roll at advantage?
Yay.
Much better.
10.
At least that's usually a threshold kind.
You found a nickel.
More when you see these 2 morning stars, one of which you're kind of holding in your hand. It was shiny. You see a war cleaver. There is a large leather smith's smock that would be far too big for you, but maybe would be only a little too big on Heinrich. There's a leather hood. You can see there's a pair of gray trousers. You pull out this, so it's like a soft canvas sort of wrap, although it's soaked through in a fluid. As you smell it, it smells of almost like meat, but with a weird spice to it. Do you unwrap it?
Yeah.
Weird. They're these sort of like steaks, but you can see they've been coated in a little bit of sniffing it. It's almost like paprika and salt, and it's been kind of almost cured that way, almost like jerky, or more like a dry aged steak, really. You also find a water skin. You find 3 pieces of copper, and that's it. That's all you find.
Well, at least I found dinner for us. Alright, so I'm gonna bring all my stuff.
So with these armfuls of things, you emerge from the door, and you see wedged into this broken courtyard the hands and feet of a giant. You can see your group kind of gathering at this broken out doorway.
I'm still, for the record, screaming and glowing.
And you see Gunter screaming, glowing, the wind from his divine magical fury whipping up and around him, the platinum hair kind of drifting up, and from the bright cascading light of this holy axe, it almost seems golden in its appearance. You happy?
I mean, I didn't do it like that.
Hey guys, I found dinner. Oh, you got your magic back. Oh, I guess you don't need this. I chucked the morning star behind me.
Clang! Lands on the ground, maybe like a foot behind Morwen. It's heavy.
What the hell happened?
I think that's a question for you.
Yeah, Gunter, are you feeling good again?
I mean, I feel a little sore, but otherwise pretty good.
Gunter, as he says this, he has just like fresh, blackened, cauterized wounds across his body. As he's talking, every now and then his tooth kind of hits his bottom lip from the little bit that's dangling. His beard, formerly glorious and platinum and freshly braided, is now singed and curled up at the ends. But he's like, yeah, I'm fine.
Sure, what'd you do to your last tooth?
It's just going around his tongue, like.
How are you gonna eat dinner? No worries. No worries.
Morwen, where were you?
Did I die?
I was busy killing a bunch of bugbears.
Oh.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Where
Brill.
were you?
And I just kind of point at the giant wedged in the hole in the ground.
That's just one. I took on 3.
I mean, numbers-wise, she's not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Although I did clear out an entire team of humanoids. But that's neither here nor there. I think, first and foremost, we should all just kind of take a moment, recuperate, last rites for this poor dwarf who got cut in half, and, yeah, about that. He,
Rick.
Excuse me? If you had been here, you would have known, but that's okay. Neither here nor there.
Say if you know,
Sure. Thank you for that. Oh boy. And I just kind of go and I stand over the cut in half dwarf.
You walk over and you see he's bisected straight down the middle pretty much, because he was lying on his side and it just cleaved him in half. You can see like one of the eyes is fully intact in the socket. The other kind of the socket broken, the eye is like rolled onto the ground, still attached by the
A blanket somewhere.
Looking around, you don't see any blankets necessarily, but you do see, one of the humanoids was wearing a cloak, a dark green cloak.
Okay, I'll go throw that over this poor guy.
Yeah, you unfasten it and kind of just drape it and let it settle across the body. The ash is kind of spread out from around him.
And I guess more in my head than anywhere else, I just kind of a little bit of a, well, I hope you. It's a personal thought, and I can't formulate it out loud, which is why I'm thinking in my head. It's a last rites thing, but it's a silent one.
You send some kind of. You take a moment to kind of honor this fallen dwarf.
Right, and as he was looking out and protecting others by getting them out of the city, dying at least in some way related to that, I sort of try to tie it together with the whole protectiveness of Helm.
Sure. Okay. Take a moment and kind of think and reflect on what you've learned from your patron.
I'm trying to learn and do this my best. That's new to me.
Absolutely. Anybody else doing anything?
I want to kind of take a walk around the perimeter.
Okay. Go ahead and make a perception check.
Natural 20.
Of course, why not?
Good lord.
So you go and you take a walk around the perimeter, and you don't notice. So the first thing that you notice, walking, we'll say the directions don't line up correctly, but the bottom part of this picture,
Sure.
you kind of walk in that direction and go around. The first thing that you do notice is there are these sort of bugbear footprints and large drops of blood leading off and then down the street. Where that bugbear fled.
Mm-hmm.
But you continue to walk around, and in doing so, the house on the sort of western side, mostly intact. You get to an area of wooden fence that you recognize as where that dwarf had been looking into before. And continuing to walk, you make a full perimeter sweep. You don't notice anybody looking, or you don't notice anything aside from you guys and the soft sort of fall of ash. Maybe somewhere far overhead, you might hear like a scream off in the very, very distance. But
Sure.
you seem relatively safe. Morwen, you said you were doing something?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. So, do you think Doug would like this dinner?
Gunter just begins shrieking.
Where's Doug? Did he run away? Or
The last thing I remember was getting struck by lightning. And Doug was on my shoulder.
so maybe he ran away, right? Did he run to safety? Gunter? Oh, please tell me he ran to safety.
Falls to his knees and is just sobbing.
I dropped my steak. No. And I do.
So amongst this courtyard with the buildings all around, these sort of cries and sobs echo faintly, but you would imagine muffled by the constantly falling ash, some of which might be Doug. And
Is there remains? Find his remains. Do your little your magic stuff. There must be like a hair.
Gunter, make an investigation check if you want to try to sift through the ash.
And Doug, not ash.
Yeah, basically. I mean, he was.
It's a natural 20.
Gunter, you suddenly, with Morwen's help, you kind of drop to your knees, wiping tears out of your eyes. Already, kind of like little trails going through the bits of ash that have settled down, and you begin scraping through, and it's just dust. You just find ash coats your hands, and as your tears drop down, there's a moment where you notice the tear drops, and part of it doesn't soak into the ash, and you kind of move over and you pull away the single tiny blackened bone.
Oh god. I'm
Not
gonna
exactly what I asked for, but that works.
I'm gonna pick it up and solemnly carry it over to Morwen.
Oh,
and then I'm gonna,
no. You keep that. You keep
and
that.
I'm gonna bring it over to where Heinrich had put the body. I'm gonna like bury it next to the body, and then I'm gonna do rites for both of them.
Okay.
Very solemn the entire time. Just
So you watch as Gunter quiet for the first time, and I mean, he was dead for a little bit, but since then, the quietest that you've seen Gunter. Yeah, 6 seconds, give or take. Several times. So altogether, about half a minute. But Gunter, you quietly and solemnly bring the single bone, and it's just a scoop of dirt, put it in and bury it. But you give last rites to both Doug and to Mater.
Ceremony.
Okay. It's a quiet moment where Morwen and Gunter kind of stand over a small grave and a very small grave. A couple minutes pass, the ash continuing to fall. And you guys can see, those of you not doing this, there are the footprints and the scuffle marks, and all of this damage slowly begins kind of becoming muted and faded as the ash settles. You would imagine in another hour or two, it'd be hard to tell that there was a battle here where there's not a massive corpse wedged into this hole.
Yeah.
But while these are happening, Heinrich, what are you doing? Shay's kind of walking the perimeter. Gunter and Morwen are giving last rites to Doug.
Again, trying to constitute. Hopefully, we can do this over the course of an hour. Short rest. I'd be like, all right, guys. I think we need to remove this thing from the hole. If anyone's able to help when you're ready. But if you need to rest for a bit, short rest, fine. Just take a moment and collect your spells.
You can see Helia now kind of slump back down.
where are
the? You do this right now. I can't imagine that we're in any fit state to lift this massive being out of this hole.
Go ahead.
After you.
Well, okay. Between sobs, or I guess once the tears are lessening, I'm just gonna be like, and whisper to Gunter and be like, "Do you think the giant has anything valuable on him?" Probably. Let's go check it out before Heinrich tries to take it from us.
I won't try to take it from you guys. I don't care about that kind of stuff.
Heinrich's like 10 feet away.
It's yours. It's fine. You can have it. It's yours. I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, the thing being here was because of Gunter. So Gunter's first dibs on anything it was holding. Sure. If there's anything important, it'll be for him.
I'm gonna go over to look at the body.
Morwen, are you giving Gunter like first dibs, or are you guys both looking at the same time?
I mean, I'll look with him, but I'm not going to take anything.
How many other bodies are there in the air?
Are 2 dead dwarves, 3 dead humans. You know that there are dead bugbears somewhere, and there is a dead giant.
Well, I actually probably don't know because I never got.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Well, you were awake.
Oh, but I guess I did.
She fought them.
Yeah, and I probably saw them when the giant first arrived and fucked me up.
No.
No? Oh.
No.
Okay. Well,
but
in any case.
Either way, there are 5 corpses of humanoids, there are 2 corpses of bugbears that have been somewhat rifled through, and then there is a giant.
Okay. I'm going to go to the giant first.
Make an investigation check at advantage because Morwen's helping you, and for once, not taking everything. It's not a race this time.
All right. That's investigation 17.
So you peer in, and it's almost comical because he's like folded almost in half down this thing, but you can see at the very bottom, and this shaft drops maybe 100 feet. Your holy weapon's still up, correct?
For the next hour, I think.
Okay.
Well, no. I
deactivated
it.
Okay.
I disengaged it when I got snapped out of my.
Hard to see, but because it is embedded tip first into the ground at the bottom of this tunnel, the tunnel goes maybe 100 feet down, and you can see that massive greatsword is embedded in the floor. But you also notice Around the neck, there's a large gold necklace. There is also around his right arm a huge golden armband. Very thin, but it is gold. You would guess both of them together probably about 75 pounds. But that's 75 pounds of gold.
Yeah.
You also find a glass bottle with a large cork. This bottle, in your hands, you would hold it like this. But it is, a very small bottle for a giant. This would be like a nip for a giant, basically. Wrapped around the cork, there is this metallic blue ribbon. It seems to reflect light at weird angles, making it almost seem to give off sparks, although only when it's in the periphery of your vision. And as you take the bottle and you shake it, it's almost as if there's a small lightning storm.
Is it like the potion that I have from way back?
It is not.
Okay.
It seems a little bit different, and as you do, you can kind of see it does. There's like a little spark, and it seems as if this, as you hold it, begins to glow, and it sheds almost 5 feet of dull light. But only every 6 seconds as that little lightning strikes. And you can actually see as you hold it up and look, water is falling on the bottom of this bottle, but it doesn't seem to accumulate. Just about 1/4 of an inch of water never grows, never shrinks.
Okay. I'm gonna take that, and then
You can have the rest.
to Morwen, and then I'm gonna go to the other bodies and loot them, but in a respectful way as I go around giving them rites of passing.
Very nice. Okay. So you watch as Gunter kind of takes each body and sort of straightens it out a little bit. And to somebody who doesn't know Gunter that well, this would look like somebody very carefully arranging bodies and kind of taking a moment and bowing in silence and saying a few words. But for those of you who really watch Gunter, he's going through their pockets too. And for those of you who aren't really watching Gunter, you know that he's probably going through their pockets too.
Well, actually, I'm also recalling the dwarf with the plate mail.
Okay.
I want to go see if that fits.
Okay, so you go over. Of the 2 dwarves, one of the pieces of plate mail is warped and misshapen from heat. You would imagine probably not super usable, but as you look at the other dwarf, you kind of pull it apart and look, and the dwarf is kind of like flopping around as you do. But you would imagine, yeah, this would probably work as half plate.
All right, I'm gonna respectfully disrobe him for internment.
Sure.
And then give him rites and passage and put on his plate.
So even as you're kind of like making these motions, you're kind of unsnapping your cloak and like, making this change. But yeah, you can equip a set of a half plate.
Oh, good.
What did you say you left me with the giant?
So, giant, there is a giant greatsword. There is a large golden necklace and armband worth, well, not worth, weighing about 75 pounds.
Worth a lot.
Gold. There is, and that's pretty much what you found.
Heinrich, got any room in that bag? You've got booty.
Not particularly. I still have a fair amount of stuff in here.
Can I just is there any way that I can estimate how much it would be worth per piece?
Make an intelligence check at advantage, because this is something that you've sold gold at weight before. You don't always sell at the most reputable places.
That's a 16.
Okay. You would imagine with the 16, it's hard to tell. You've never seen a piece of gold singularly, even as big as the armband, never mind the necklace. Upwards of 3,000 gold pieces, probably. Probably more.
Together?
Yeah, together.
All right. Well, if you want to make room, I've got 3 grand up here. Could buy us each a boat. Well, dinky ones, but I could.
Not the worst idea.
It would be an awful shame to leave it here for someone else to grab.
Well, once we drag the body back up, sure. I'll try to figure out how to fit it, if it will fit at all.
Maybe taking them off will make the body lighter.
How far? Okay, I'm gonna come over and take a look. How far down is this part of his body that these things are attached to?
Well, so it's on the neck and on
Yeah.
the right arm. The right arm is like forced out like this.
Okay.
So it's a heavy armband, but you guys can probably just slide it off the arm without too much difficulty. The necklace, you would need to like kind of scale the body down and then drag it off over his head, but also not terribly hard.
I just don't want to drop the body down there necessarily. I'd rather like hide it in the house here.
All right, fine.
So let's. Is anyone able to help get this body out of here?
Yeah, right here.
I'll try.
So,
you, but I
guys
think a lot-
are you taking you guys took a short rest? That is something that you're doing?
Yeah, that was my goal.
Okay. Is anybody standing watch while you guys do this?
Yes.
I'm feeling fine, so I will too.
Okay, so Shay and Morwen, each of you make a perception check.
Is Helia around? Do we notice that?
Yeah, Helia is currently like she sat back up. You guys heard when you guys said that you were going to kind of just like relax for a second before you moved the body. She had slumped down to the ground, and it's been like fine by me.
Oh, I'm gonna go over to her and be like, "Thanks for your help," and use my other channel divinity, 50 HP. Boom. You're welcome.
Okay, she has 41 total health. So you
41 total HP. Boom. Actually,
you're
health healed up to 21 because it's half the max HP.
okay, fair enough. So as you like hold out your hand, you channel Cord's power through you, and this energy bursts in. You could see at first she kind of just goes and like puts her hand up because she's assuming you're attacking her. But then as it kind of the lightning crackles in and seems to cauterize the wounds, you can see she kind of stretches and then holds her hand out, and for a moment, Gunter, you do magic.
I do now.
Have you always done this? Why didn't you do it to help us out before?
Well,
She's kind of climbing up now.
It's kind of a long story. I think that guy came and gave it back to me, but also killed me like 6 times.
Turns and like looks back at just these arms and legs sticking out of the hole.
I'm still trying to work it on. There's a lot going on in my head. But yeah, now I can do stuff again.
Thank you, Gunter. I feel like still like kind of just stretching out her body. I feel almost fine.
Don't mention it. And I'm gonna shuffle along to go help out the rest of the group with the giant body. Now that I've fixed all the stuff and looted all the bodies.
During the short, so you can mark off a short rest. Shay, what was your perception check?
25.
And Morwen, what was yours?
It is a 24.
Okay, so for
Wow,
both
that's
of you,
a good one for me.
there is a moment where above, hundreds of feet above, you hear, and just barely, I mean, this is through the incredible hearing of Shay from your ancestry, and then the astute listening skills of somebody who tries very hard not to be heard. You can hear above you, hundreds of feet, metal footsteps. It's 1 or 2 at first, and then you realize they're not really stopping, and it's probably dozens. And they seem to be traversing what you would imagine is the bronze serpent up above.
Moving in this direction or just above us?
Impossible to tell at this distance. You just barely hear it.
Okay.
That being said, for those of you who would like to, you can mark off a short rest. You can use hit dice if you would like.
Yeah, everyone that I can see also gets what is it?
10.
It's 10 bonus HP or temporary HP.
Nice.
Unless
You
it's
can
short
mark that
radiant.
off. I'm going to give that to Hilton. Yeah, she'll take it.
'Cause it's up to 5, and there's 4 others besides me left.
Roll some dice. Get some health.
I will say, Talon, I miss Thistle a lot too. That's probably my
Yeah.
biggest miss.
Does
Those deaths really weigh the heaviest on Gunter.
It's Thistle and Doug.
Yeah. Those are like Malamar gets like tangential guilt.
I mean, you didn't even say his name right, so it's probably not breaking Gunter up too much. But either way,
well, does he ever? But yeah.
fair. You guys, short rest, no problem. You hear that kind of marching above hundreds of feet. You now are passes, and now, you see still this kind of violet skin, although it is becoming a little bit more pale, a little bit more ashen as time passes. What are you guys doing? Going up to the body, you kind of approach, and so from the bottom of this pit, you would see kind of Heinrich's body going, and Heinrich's face looking over, and then Helios popping over, and then whoever wants to kind of all appearing. This is a massive creature. Looking around at your assembled group, it's going to be a struggle to move him.
It doesn't say struggle.
I'm going to pull from the bag.
I'm gonna before.
Wait, hold on.
Oh,
I have
okay.
this awesome thing that I've been saving forever for a moment where we would need it.
Okay.
It is.
What
It's
is it?
that potion. It's the silver liquid in a vial that when I turned it around, it levitated.
Mm-hmm.
You want to use that?
I
You're
don't know.
gonna use Boonta? No.
I counter
What's up?
animate dead.
You're gonna what?
I'm just gonna move.
Can we vote on which method we use?
Can we not move the body and not bring him back? Because can you control that, Gunter? I mean, the
Oh no, he's probably bigger than medium, right?
Yeah.
He's giant.
Looking at him, you would imagine that his official size would be huge. Yeah, he's not medium.
So
Oh, wait.
Dump the vial out on him and try to
I mean,
I can't. Oh, I could bandage his body.
Yeah, but we want the what? Do we want the gold?
We're just gonna levitate him to make him lighter and then move him into the house, and then you can do whatever there.
Well, I can't carry that gold.
Sounds good.
We'll figure that out when we get the body out of the way. Because apparently this hole is our goal, according to our half-friend over there.
Yeah, just that silver stuff looks kind of valuable.
one creature or object. So, yeah. I will say, Heinrich, go ahead and make an intelligence check first.
Okie dokie. Yeah, I guess I'll try to be like, is this even something that's worth it?
I don't know if it is.
Ooh. 18.
So, you would imagine that this potion will not levitate this entire creature. It will make it lighter.
Mm-hmm.
It might help. But you would imagine the potion itself is only going to affect about 500 pounds worth of an object.
I mean,
It's like a quarter of the weight. Yeah.
Burn the body.
Like,
Okay.
is this just very obviously not something we can all try to do first? Like, did we even try to move this?
You didn't try, but you looking at it, I mean, this would be... It's one of those things that you guys look at and say, this is impossible, but you know that maybe you could do it.
I roll up my fur sleeves. And
If we all roll natural 20s.
Tattoos.
Kidding.
yeah.
I exposed like the skin underneath. No.
You just rip the fur off. There's that little thistle branch and all the other piratey tattoos.
I'm bleeding.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I guess I won't waste it because that's only it's because this is a mild inconvenience in our way of getting down. Looking down further, by the way, can I see the bottom of this? Does this just drop out?
Make a perception check.
Okay. Can I use light to throw like a rock down there to give myself a little bit of help to see how far down it is?
Yeah, sure. You take a piece of the many broken bits of masonry scattered across the courtyard, and you cast light on it, and you drop it down. This glowing orb just
Another
drops
judge
100 feet. It kind of ting off of the hilt of the sword, which is sticking straight up from the bottom, and then onto the ground. And you can see now about 100 feet down, there is flat, what looks like natural stone, but you can see the outlines of what looks like a hatch at the bottom as well. The bottom seems to be about 15 feet wide.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely don't want to.
There's a ladder that's descending as well. Sorry.
That's what also I was going to ask. Is there a safe way to get down there?
There's still rungs anchored into the side, the stone on the side.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we want to drop this body down there unless it crashes through and keeps falling to wherever we were just trying to look at. So let's get this body out of here, I guess. Let's try it safely to remove the body, please, guys, maybe?
So if you guys all want to make an athletics check, you can certainly go ahead. I'll roll for Helia.
I'm gonna enhance ability, give myself bull strength.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Mark off that spell slot.
You don't want to tap anyone's shoulders as you go, No? Okay.
Plan B.
9.
9, okay.
19.
All right.
12. It's not looking good.
I've got a toe.
Athletics, you said? Not just strength? I guess it doesn't matter. It's an 18 from me.
Okay. Overall, not bad. And so you guys, as a group, all get on to like one arm. There's no sleeve. There's just this kind of bracelet. Some of you grab that. Some of you grab the actual skin itself, which is becoming kind of grossly tacky and stiff. I would say you guys don't move this creature, first of all. You tug and you pull. Doesn't move out. You move the arm around a little bit. Shay, as you pull your hands away, the indents of your fingers are left. This rigor mortis is really beginning to set in. The bruising just kind of instantly begins on the skin, but you don't move it. This thing is heavy.
Well, that was a good try, guys.
Do we burn it?
It would just fall as it decomposes.
Well, yeah, but then we can go down and...
Oh, I have an idea. And I climb down the ladder, and as I'm climbing down the ladder, I'm like, everyone just get out of the way.
Okay.
Just like...
You can see the antlers kind of disappear, and then suddenly they reappear. Everybody get out of the way, and then just kind of continues down. Everybody backing up?
Yep.
Yeah, I hide.
Hell yeah, back.
Absolutely.
I go
Okay.
snuff.
So, you had go ahead and make your stealth check if you're hiding.
Yeah.
And then Heinrich, you climb down, hand over hand, no problem. It's actually a very, very sturdy ladder. You get the sense that these rungs probably have long points that have been driven all the way into the rock. Very secure. You make your way down to the bottom. You have to go past the last 10 feet. You climb past the sword. And you're acutely aware of the fact that were the ladder on the other side, you'd be going straight down past the blade. Luckily, you're on the kind of the broad side, and as you go down, you can actually see your reflection, a little blurry, a little distorted, but in the actual blade itself as you get down to the bottom. The light from that light spell on the stone kind of casting a good amount of light, and you can see there's a hatch. This hatch has it's actually the exact same kind of rung bolted into it, and you would imagine you can pull it open.
Do that. Instead, I will redirect my attention up at the ass of the giant.
Yep, just
And I'm gonna Eldritch
you can
Blast
actually
him out of
see,
the hole.
because if I remember correctly from that,
Ass blaster.
Yeah, I'm gonna blast his ass out of the hole. I'm gonna uncork this guy.
you got an Eldritch Blast?
Yeah, I'm gonna uncork him, push
Nice.
him 10 feet into the air at an angle to like not come right straight back down.
You don't need to roll to hit because there's no way you're gonna miss. Go ahead and roll damage on that though for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, you're gonna make a mess.
That's not looking too safe.
covered in bits of
16?
giant butt.
16 damage.
Yeah.
You are sprayed with like room temperature gore and viscera and blood as you hit this corpse, and it does. And you guys all from the top watch as the body, almost it's like a pelvic thrust out of this hole, and then onto the ground. Bits of masonry rain down in the courtyard from the weight of this creature. I mean, it's 2,000 pounds of giant. It slams to the ground, the bracelet creating sparks as it drags across the stone. But after a moment, and there's ash just spread out into the air in a huge cloud.
Spread out to the air.
Ashes. There's a little. So Heinrich, you do kind of blink for a moment, and there is just this splatter of gore across you down at the bottom. But for the moment, the body is about 5 feet away from the actual hole, and it's kind of like rolled over on its side. The hole is accessible.
Wonderful. I'm gonna climb back up.
Good job. Good thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna climb back up and just kind of be like, okay, how do we hide this thing?
Oh, I'm gonna
stick
stick
with
out a
that
hand.
until there's nothing that's, remaining.
I mean, you could.
I don't want to attract attention. Can we all...
Okay.
That was just necessary, but now can we drag him into, like, underneath a building so that anything from, a vantage point wouldn't see him anymore?
I'm going to say, if you guys want to take, given your previous athletics checks, if you guys want to take 3 hours to move this body, you can drag it into a house. It's 2,000 pounds. I mean, this is...
a ton.
Yeah.
Okay. Instead, can we I look around like, okay, we're not moving that body again. Can we, like, hide the hole somehow, maybe? Gunter, mending? That's your favorite thing, right?
Let's see if I got that one back.
So how big is the area affected by mending? I can do some quick math.
1 foot.
How many times does he need to do that?
So you need to mend 5, 10, 15, 20. This is... What's 20 by 20? 20 times 20.
In terms of area?
Yeah.
400 feet.
So, I mean, if you wanted to mend the entire hole, there's no way that's right. Hang on, give me 1 second.
Sorry. Yeah, 40 by 40. No, I did follow you.
I think
it's 45 feet worth of ground. So you would need to take about, I would say, probably half an hour to mend this thing, but you could do it, yeah.
Just like little bit by little bit.
Literally you would be doing it brick by brick, yes.
Honestly, why not?
Break your powers in again, buddy.
Gunter gets down, and you watch as he shuffles, his feet leaving little trails in the ash, and his hands, there's little poof, 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 poof of light, and the bricks slowly, very slowly reassemble themselves. And whereas before there were this beautiful, elegant dwarven pattern, they're now just kind of randomly put in place. And there's like an area around the edge where you can actually see still a beautiful pattern that just transitions into a mess. But as the ash does settle upon it, it becomes indistinguishable from the rest. And you would imagine that this is a fairly well hidden hole.
Feels good.
Are we going for it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing to put towards our cause, for sure.
Oh, I also currently have twice my carrying capacity.
As a bolt strength, yeah.
For an hour.
Yeah, but that's not going to last the whole... Hold on.
Yeah, but I can move it easily right now.
I just don't know how much stuff I can get rid of.
So, Gunter, are you going to remove the bracelet and the necklace?
Yeah, I'll take them off for...
You yank the bracelet off. It takes like 2 tugs to get it around the bones in his wrist, but it's like a 50 pounds of gold is this bracelet. You put it down, and you kind of clamber over to the head, and you slide the necklace off. It's another 25 pounds. They're chains, these very thin gold chains, thin, being about this big around. And you pull that off, so you have 75 pounds of gold kind of on the ground.
Well, hell yeah. I mean, do you have any room for any of the stuff?
Unlike all of you, I live a bit of a more mundane life. I don't have access to magic.
I mean, worth asking.
It's always worth asking.
How are you doing anyway?
Very strangely, and she kind of like pulls down part of her tunic. You can see this cauterized wound that now bits of the black are like flaking off, and it's just like pink skin underneath. Very strangely, Gunter, I don't know if you know this about him, but he is able to heal wounds with magic. Is he some kind of cleric?
He's something.
Well, that's true.
Made me quite a scare. Or worried about you.
Well,
But,
I've been through.
Oh, don't worry, I'm okay. I only died like 4 times.
Like ever? Because I've seen him.
Oh,
You weren't talking to me. Sorry. I thought you were talking to me.
How fair to Splinter? I've seen you die many times.
Oh,
Or-
but it was like... I mean, I think
He
it's
was like the Usain Bolt of dying there. He died a lot.
Oh
But
yeah, and I
yeah,
have no idea that happened.
yeah, you're fighting bugbears.
Alright,
Helia,
I think I've cleared out enough room. There's
Helia
something-
steps out from away from you, Morwen, and she does walk over to you, Gunter, and she smiles and says, "You were very brave. Thank you." And she gives you just a little kiss on the cheek. You can see that for those of you watching, you can actually see like her nose scrunches a little bit because he doesn't smell great.
I'm also still covered in probably now soot and blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like rubble.
Yeah, it's all kinds of debris. But either way,
Us too.
that's only on Heinrich because he was wedged into the hole, so that's it's a Heinrich special. Feeling kind of assy. So, Figure Gang, you now are within this courtyard, again covered and reconstructed to the best of your abilities. This giant's body lays kind of crumpled over on the side, now taken away from the gold on the ground. Heinrich, you've cleared out some items from your bag.
Yeah, so there's some stuff that I want to offer to people if anyone wants it.
This is always great. This is like a campaign recap in miniature.
Yeah, no, you're welcome for this. Okay, so I'm getting rid of Twee's eye in a ceramic jar.
I don't want that.
I got rid of I got rid of the body parts shopping list that he had that I kept for some reason.
Sure.
I got rid of
Make an intelligence check. As
Okay.
you kind of get rid of that.
Okay. 5.
Yeah, just shopping list. Kind of just cast it off to the side.
I'm gonna pick up the eye and the shopping list that he basically like things that he's dropping. I'm just gonna like pick them up as he's dropping.
Okay.
And then the next one
Oh,
is
do I want this? Nope. Pass it down the line.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna pass it out.
I'm gonna hand to all of us each one Cratago protrusion, the claw.
I'll add
So,
that.
are you announcing that they're Cratago protrusions?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he takes out these blackened fingertips from the Cratago that you guys fought about 3 months ago in game time.
Back in the day, I remember this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leaves 7 in my bag. That's fine. A strip of patterned cloth from one of the Cratagos. I just dropped that down.
Nah.
Yeah, it's this kind of purple and white checkerboard pattern.
Yep. The broken sorcerer disguise kit because we stripped that broken sorcerer that we killed.
So it not a disguise kit, but you could use it as a disguise as a broken sorcerer. It is the robes and the manacles and the sort of eye covering. Yeah, it's like a Hannibal Lecter style mask.
Yeah.
Pull
all that down.
Yeah, so that is the broken sorcerer clothing.
Yeah, there's 3 empty glass bottles that I don't think anyone's going to be using those types of things to make anything fun, so I just put them down.
I like glass
Okay.
bottles. I take them.
Okay.
You can have 3 glass
magnifying
bottles.
I got a magnifying glass that I put down. I take out the paper of the names of Tanders.
Interesting point. That okay, hang on. So interesting point. That magnifying glass. Do you remember where you got it?
I think it was on. What was the name of that island that we got stranded on for a while?
On Biss, right?
Biss, yeah. Didn't I get it from Biss?
Yeah. So interestingly, that magnifying glass, as you put it down, whether or not this is meaningful to you, it does have a name on it.
I kind of take a second and look at it again.
It is this very elegant print. You can see almost like gold ink that has been set into very, very fine etching work that perfectly mimics the letters, and it does say Gildus. Some of the ink faded and scratched out, but it's an old magnifying glass.
Yeah, I'm like, Morwen? Help you find stuff better when you're looting bodies?
This huge cat eye just kind of looms at the magnifying glass.
Brian's gone now. The list with the names of Tander's boys on it.
Yeah, so the very first things that you fought, this little group of bandits,
Really
15 months, real world ago, yes, actual session 1. You just kind of throw it on the ground.
Yep.
Man, you're really a hoarder.
Yeah, I just kind of kept stuff because I thought it was going to be relevant, and then we just moved on.
That's the
There's
thing about Alberon.
As
Everything is there
D&D
for a
is.
reason, but not everything is
Right.
important.
Exactly. There's a cultist journal from the Midnight Assembly. I'm gonna keep that, actually.
Okay.
That's what that is, right?
Yeah. You haven't thoroughly looked through that. You did see that Twee's name was on it and stuff, but
Yeah.
just as a
Actually,
reminder, you haven't really.
Next short rest, I might take or long rest, I might take a bit of that out there. I'm keeping the Deepling Fireline, the cigar box.
Those are the Red Devils, right? The cigars.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I'm gonna pull out the deed to
They
the
are.
orphanage
Okay.
and be like, "Does anyone want an orphanage?"
You have an orphanage?
I don't know. Apparently, I don't remember where I got this one from. I think it was also Abyss.
Well, I have another deed. I guess 2 wouldn't hurt.
Here, you look like. Yeah. Never
Hey,
mind. I'm going back
I'm
in.
now the proprietor of an orphanage and a bar.
You know what? Yes.
Make an intelligence check, Gunter.
That is 16.
You have actually been by this orphanage before. You've never been inside, but it's in a neighborhood in Nocturne called the Deep Black. It's this sort of so it's this neighborhood that has all the windows like painted black from the inside. Tiny bits of light kind of spill out through the areas that have faded away, but it is a very quiet neighborhood. The orphanage not terribly popular in that neighborhood. The orphans don't do very well. It's not a great establishment.
Yeah, and that just leaves like a bunch of random like trinkets, books, pieces of paper, and the only thing that's large is the trident. But I'm keeping until an opportune moment.
You yank out
And,
the trident.
pieces of dynamite, which I'm also keeping for an opportune moment.
No, he's saying he's keeping the trident.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm keeping. So those are the only two things that are like, you know,
Heavy.
that aren't just like potentially worth something.
Paper.
Also have story
Sure.
and lore, but more like, you know what I mean, like useful in the pinch.
Having
So-
removed all of that, I would say
Yeah.
you have enough room, certainly, for the bracelet or
Okay.
the necklace. Because the necklace is only half the size. You would imagine you might have enough room for the necklace. It's going to be
I'm
really.
not gonna risk it. I'm not gonna risk it. I'm only putting one thing in.
Bracelets the more
Does the
expensive.
necklace fit around my neck?
So Gunter, were you to put the
Correct.
necklace around your neck, the links kind of would almost be as wide as your shoulders. It's 25 pounds. You can hold it up, and you're stout. It would.
What if
hang
I like
down
wrapped it around sort of like double bandolier style
It's like
loops?
The Lenny Kravitz
Just
scarf
like a
of gold
backpack
chains.
of gold chain. Just like
Make a performance check, Gunter, just for fun.
You would be the most ridiculous looking gold-headed, like gold-wearing,
It is-
toothless.
Oh
Out
shit! 19, baby!
So, Gunter, you take a little bit of time and you take these golden links and you kind of whip one over and kind of crisscross. You have these large, and it's heavy, but as you wear it like that, it does distribute the weight much more evenly. And you are now wearing 2 golden chains across your chest.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Slip in the bag.
Great.
And so as you put the bracelet in, the bag stretches this yawning open mouth and swallows it in.
Cool.
You guys now have a lot of gold.
What's the size of it so I can note it down?
1 sec. In terms of weight,
Yeah.
50 pounds.
50 pounds?
50. Which Heinrich would know because you, in Port Quinn when you left,
Mhm.
that alone worth probably about 2,200 gold.
Cool.
You make sure to save that for us.
Can I, in the
What's
short rest, also try to look at this potion of lightning-y stuff?
Make an Arcana check. Or, you know what? Make an Arcana, a History, or a Religion check. All 3 will yield different things.
Okay.
For being fair about it.
Probably not much, because let's see what the highest one is.
You really got to pick the skill before you make
It's
the
all,
religion.
they're all 6s.
Okay, fair enough.
So I guess I'll do Arcana. 'Cause I'm
Okay.
like, what's this potion do?
And you continue to ask yourself that question because nothing really comes to mind. You've seen a potion kind of like it before, but this feels very different. Even the bottle itself, the glass, very strange. You've never seen anything quite like this before.
Huh.
But it's cool. Storm in a bottle.
Alright, I got a rain cloud for a sunny day. Put that away.
Only for Gunter. So, you can add a storm in a bottle to your inventory.
Nice. I had written it down as lightning-y looking potion.
Okay, whatever you would like, but it is a storm in a bottle. It is a magical item. It has a magical feel to it. You get the sense it's not a combat item of any kind. But at this point, since you guys got there, about an hour and a half has passed, including the short rest. You guys, at this point, I would say, Shay, you have a passive of 19, right?
18.
18.
I have the 19.
So you do not notice this. However, Gunter, as you're kind of like, looking at yourself and kind of, you take a second to go over and find a little bit of an intact window, just like a shard of glass, really. And you look at your reflection and you admire it. And as you do, you see the smoke behind you shift in the air, maybe 30 feet up. You turn. Nothing.
I'm like heightened presence. Do I feel like, like foreboding or anything? Thinking like, oh shit, I just fucking died like a bunch of times.
So you're probably pretty on edge.
And there's a dragon somewhere around here looking for us. Like, was it the dragon? Am I getting killed again? What's going on here?
I will say, given your passive, too small to be a dragon.
Okay. I'm like,
even kind skill.
Alright.
And she's small for a dragon.
We gotta move.
Shall we into the hole?
Into the hole!
Let's get moving.
And suddenly, from up above, as you look up, you can see the smoke displaces and these two wings.
Chronic!
And you see landing now the muscular body and the red-hawked face of Chronic, the Eric Hochran monk.
Oh shit, he bad.
Who's that?
Lands and turns, looks at you, Shay, kind of casts a glance around, looks over now and kind of cocks his head, very bird-like, at the just sort of broken body of the giant. Turns to you, Shay, and inclines his head slightly in a familiar greeting. He turns and addresses everybody. I'm sorry. It seems that I am late. And he again looks over at the giant. And because it is midnight, and a perfect place to end, that is where we're going to end for the evening. So, awesome job, guys. You killed a storm giant. That's pretty nifty. That's pretty nifty.
Survived.
That got me going.
Yeah, there you go. So guys, thank you all so much for tuning in, for hanging out, watching the campaign. Thank you to Nat Awesome. I saw that you showed up sort of close to the end. Das, Talon being there for the whole time. Crixman, Isumiwa, everybody who stays active in the chat. It's always cool to see you guys. Isumiwa, you said that you wanted a Fey Pig shirt. I'll see what I can do. We would probably need different Fey Pig artwork, but we'll figure it out. But yes. So is everybody here next week? Am I here next week? I'm here next week. Everybody here next week?
Yeah.
Sure. All right. So next Friday at 8:30, we will see you for session 44, which I don't have any idea for a title for, but I know what's going to happen, and it's super exciting.
Product back in business.
There you go. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sure. Product back in business. Session 44. For all of you guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you very much for subscribing, for the bits, for following along, just for hanging out and experiencing this world and the story. We really appreciate it. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next week.